to my friends, to my neighbor, to the neighboring communities. Maybe this is for that, because, you know, arming communities, that's what prevented massacre in some communities in the South. So maybe it's a good idea to arm communities of peaceful citizens against those people who support the attack of October 7th. More than 80% of the Palestinian in Judea and Samaria, my Palestinian neighbors, they support those kind of acts. So maybe I need to defend myself. I hope it's okay with you.
Simcha Rothman, we have to end there. I thank you for joining me from Jerusalem on Hard Talk.
Thank you very much.
That was Hard Talk. I'm Jeff Goods. You're listening to CBC Radio 1. Have a great day.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. Great to have you with us today, in particular, because we have a special day of programming here at CBC Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio, your morning show on 89.3 FM, 990 AM, or on the app. But today, all day long, we're going to make the season kind. In support of Harvest Manitoba, its member agencies and food banks all across this province, and other resources that people need. It is a historic year for the need, and we'll be delving into some of those stories this morning. Starting at 6, though, 982-3581, if you can, donate. We have a beautiful morning of live music and stories ahead. We've got a massive choir from Meadows West School right now setting up in our music studio. So looking forward to the show today. As mentioned, I'm Marcy Marcusa, 3 minutes to 6 a.m. Let's say good morning to the team. Pat Kanuga's in this morning, as always, directing the show, covering weather traffic. Abby Adeyemi behind our controls here in Studio 15. Brian Harder and Bruce Layden and Corey Funk all taking care of the special guests in our music studio. So we'll tell you more throughout the morning, of course. Right now, though, as always, let's plug into CBC News with Heather Walls.
Good morning. Well, a new report by Harvest Manitoba suggests almost half of the province's food bank users are dealing with disabilities and health issues, and nearly 3/4 can't afford healthy food. We're going to hear the story of one user of the Selkirk Food Bank who has a household of people with dietary needs. So that's coming up as we make the season kind together. As well, in other news, the city of Winnipeg is helping a local brew pub keep a Christmas tradition alive. We're going to hear the latest story of the traveling humbug sign in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Also, good morning, by the way, to Travis Peterson, who is also here back behind the controls of our YouTube channel, so you can watch us there as well. So in the first hour of Information Radio, we are going to hear more from a 75-year-old Winnipegger who shares what brought him to Harvest Manitoba. So stay tuned for his story. Also, we're going to touch base with Vince Barletta, who's going to be joining us for the whole early hours here to walk us through what those needs are. As you heard in the latest food banks reports in Manitoba, Harvest is facing its worst situation in 2023. Also, one of the big changes, people that are going are employed. 40% of clients are employed. That's a 66% increase from last year, and nearly half of all the clients are kids. So stay tuned as we make the season kind. First, your national news.
On Cue with Tom Power.
Mariah Carey is referred to as the Queen of Christmas, and Matt Rogers has spent the last few years trying to be crowned the Prince of Christmas. Matt will tell you about his new Christmas album, Meeting Mariah Carey, and how it felt when his best friend got Saturday Night Live and he didn't.
I definitely went through a depression.
That's coming up on Cue, followed by Commotion with Elamine Abdel Mahmoud on CBC Radio 1, the CBC Listen app, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning from CBC News. I'm John Northcott. The temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is over. A red alert blares from sirens in southern Israel, warning of incoming rockets. Hamas says it is Israel's fault the pause was not extended. It says Israel rejected its offer to release more hostages. But Israeli Defense Forces say Hamas broke the ceasefire agreement by firing rockets at Israeli sites. Major Doran Spielman speaks for the IDF.
We're back into a combat mode in order to eliminate Hamas, which it just shows, even after days of truce, days where we were able to get these hostages and even release these prisoners, their own prisoners, back, they decided once again to move into attack mode.
And so, Israeli airstrikes are bombarding Gaza again. Medics treat the wounded in the hospital. The Hamas-run health authority says more than 50 people have been killed since fighting resumed. Israel is telling people near Han Yunis to move to what it calls safe areas. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights is calling on both sides to reestablish the ceasefire. The COP28 climate summit in Dubai is beginning with a call to action. Here's King Charles speaking this morning in his opening address.
Our grandchildren won't be asking what we said. They will be living with the consequences of what we did or didn't do.
And action, it seems, is on the way, or at least money is. Wealthy countries are pledging to pay for damage from climate-driven disasters in developing countries. Kyle Bax has the latest.
6 Indigenous women stand together, each raising a fist in the air as their music, song and prayer mark the opening of the Canadian Pavilion at COP28. Shortly after, an announcement from the federal government to support a new global climate damage fund to help developing countries cope with floods, droughts and rising sea levels. Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault.
Canada's been arguing for now more than a year that we should have a serious conversation about loss and damage after ignoring it for almost 30 years.
Ottawa is making an initial $16 million pledge, much less than the $100 million committed by Germany and some other nations, but nearly identical to the amount pledged by the United States.
This is a significant step forward. I think it will also help create goodwill and trust building in these negotiations, which is what they run on.
And welcome to the opening ceremony.
World leaders from around the globe are taking the stage today and tomorrow. They are urged to take action to limit global warming. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
Earth's vital signs are failing. Record emissions, ferocious fires, deadly droughts, and the hottest year ever.
But it's not too late, he says, to act on climate change. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Dubai.
With Myanmar's military government losing significant ground against rebels across the country, it appears to be tightening its grip on critics living abroad. In Singapore, several Myanmar citizens have had their passports invalidated without any explanation. Freelance reporter Patrick Falk has that story.
Peninsula Plaza is a popular hangout for people from Myanmar in Singapore. It's where May Kyo So Nyut runs a small provision store. She uses some of her profit to support Myanmar's anti-junta resistance. She planned to fly to Thailand in August, but discovered at the airport that her passport had been cancelled.
I cannot go in through because of my passport is invalid.
May is one of around 300,000 Myanmar nationals living in Singapore, with many voicing strong opposition to the 2021 military coup. The 51-year-old has lived in Singapore for around 16 years and has permanent residency in the city-state. But without any passport, she is unable to travel elsewhere. There are reports other people from Myanmar have also had their passports revoked with no warning. Such moves have typically been reserved for high-profile opposition leaders in the past. But the junta has stepped up action against activists living overseas. Bryony Lau is Deputy Director of Asia for Human Rights Watch and says it's not the only tactic the regime is using against its opponents abroad.
Pro-military segments of Myanmar society that are active on Telegram, for example, actively try to identify people who support the resistance and dox them by sharing their personal information online.
It doesn't appear to be helping the regime. Since launching an offensive about a month ago, resistance forces in Myanmar have seized more than 100 military posts across the country. Patrick Falk for CBC News, Singapore.
Russian dissident Alexei Navalny says he has just been informed he's facing new criminal charges. Navalny, a longtime critic of the Kremlin and President Vladimir Putin. He's already serving time in a penal colony. He's been sentenced to more than 30 years on multiple charges, including extremism, which he denies. Now Navalny says he's been charged with vandalism. Republican Congressman George Santos could be expelled from the U.S. House of Representatives today. He's been engulfed in controversy since his election in 2022, also facing multiple federal felony charges. CBC's Richard Madden is in Washington. Richard, Santos has survived 2 previous votes to expel him. Why would today's outcome be any different?
Yeah, I think it's because he's become so politically toxic, many of his own Republicans have turned on him. And the final straw appears to be that scathing ethics investigation, a bipartisan one at that found evidence he stole from his campaign donors to pay for things like Botox, designer clothes, and adult website OnlyFans. Now, don't forget, he's already facing separate criminal indictments, including wire fraud, money laundering, and theft. And he was also exposed for lying about parts of his resume, his finances, and his background. But Santos argues he hasn't been convicted of any crime, at least not yet, so he's now portraying himself a victim, and his colleagues, bullies.
This is what it looks like to me. It is a predetermined necessity for some members in this body to engage in this smear campaign to destroy me. I will not stand by quietly.
And he sure won't. Santos believes his ouster is inevitable, but he refuses to resign and avoid what's shaping up to be a humiliating vote to get rid of him.
Now, Richard, a vote to expel a member is a very rare move, is it not?
It sure is. Only 5 members of Congress have been expelled in U.S. history, and 3 of them booted for supporting the Confederacy during the Civil War, basically treason. So Santos could be the 6th, but keep in mind, an expulsion vote requires a 2/3 majority in the House. That means every Democrat and at least 70 Republicans would need to vote yes. And for now, that appears to be the way it's going.
The CBC's Richard Madden in Washington. Thanks, Richard.
You're welcome.
There is concern in Japan this morning over the continued use of a U.S. military aircraft. One person was killed, 7 others missing after a V-22 Osprey crashed earlier this week. Tokyo quickly grounded its fleet. It asked the U.S. to do the same with all of its Ospreys based in Japan. But as the CBC's Aaron Saltzman reports, that isn't happening.
With its tiltable turboprop engines, the Osprey can take off and land like a helicopter, but has the speed and range of an airplane. That versatility makes it ideal as a troop carrier for long-distance special operations missions. Japan has 13 Ospreys and plans to buy more, but we are concerned, says Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Hirokazu Matsuno. Because the deadly crash earlier this week off Japan's southern coast is not the first time the Osprey's safety record has been called into question. Just 3 months ago, 3 Marines were killed when an Osprey plunged into the sea off Australia. A 2022 crash in the California desert killed 5. In 2016, an Osprey went down in the ocean off Okinawa.
Safety is our #1 priority.
But with the cause of the latest crash still unknown, Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh says the U.S. will continue to operate Ospreys out of Japan.
I'm not going to get ahead of that investigation and its process.
That is not going over well in Japan. With 50,000 personnel stationed here, the massive U.S. military presence was a source of tension long before this latest tragedy. Aaron Saltzman, CBC News, Tokyo.
Finally, TikTok is celebrating a major legal victory in the United States. A federal judge has blocked the state of Montana's ban on the video sharing app. It was due to take effect on January 1st. TikTok has a Chinese-owned parent company, and the app has been flagged for its potential to aid Chinese spying. Montana says it was trying to protect the privacy of its residents, but a U.S. district judge ruled banning TikTok violates freedom of speech. Well, that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Well, good morning, Manitoba, from downtown Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is CBC Manitoba's Information Radio. But today, we're making the season kind in support of Harvest Manitoba.
Kind of like to eat. You know, not any different than a lot of people these days. You run short of food, and you have tough decisions to make. Hydro has to be paid, and you know, the expenses, and you know, things are bad for a lot of people. It does make you question the future.
We have a chance today to come together and change the future in our community for people like that 75-year-old Winnipegger. We'll hear his story this hour about what brought him to Harvest. In addition, we'll hear from another man who worked full-time for 18 years, bought all his own food, but a short stint without work led him to Harvest Manitoba's food bank. It is there when people are in need, but this year, the need is great. This is Make the Season Kind. So the phone lines are now open if you do have anything that you can donate today to a helping community. This morning we're going to hear more stories. We have live music planned. And of course, we will hear about the statistics behind the people. People first, stats later. But we do have numbers to outline how great the need is. So the donation line is 9823581, cbc.ca/BeKindManitoba. And in a moment after headlines, I'm going to tell you who's standing by to sing for us this hour. First, though, here's Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, the family of a woman police believe was murdered by an accused serial killer will honor her memory tonight. Morgan Harris's family will gather in North Kildonan outside the former home of the accused. This comes exactly 1 year after Winnipeg police announced Jeremy Skibicki had been charged as an accused serial killer. Winnipeg police are asking you this morning to avoid the area of St. Anne's Road between Fermor and Havelock. There is a heavy police presence there this morning. Police are only saying it's a police matter, but for now, traffic isn't being impacted. However, as the morning progresses, you are being told to expect delays. That's northbound lanes of St. Anne's Road between Fermor and Havelock. Drivers, they say, would be wise to find an alternate route. And you can find more news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba. Our next local news at 6:30.
All right, thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Well, Pat Kanuga, weather and traffic today, what do we got?
Some nice temperatures. We have done some of these shows over the years where it's been minus 30. Not today. We're hovering at minus 3 right now.
And can we say maybe that's perfect because we have like dozens and dozens of students and their parents in our music studio from
Meadows West
Meadows
School,
West School. Yay!
Good morning.
They're going to sing for us this hour. I'm so excited about that.
It's going to be great.
I should also entice people to stay with us here on our special day of broadcast because for the morning show here, we also have performances coming up from Aaron Propp and Larry Roy in the second hour, and then Donna Merrow's going to close the show later. So, looking forward to it.
Can't wait to hear them all.
So you said minus 3 or plus 3?
Minus 3.
Okay.
Oh, hold off. It's not plus 3 yet, Marcy.
I'm trying.
We might be getting to that in the next few days, though. So, yes, right now, minus 3 as mentioned. We are going to be pretty straightforward ahead. With lots of cloud cover over the province right now, looking at satellite imagery. Up in the north is a little bit more clear than the south, but we expect to be sunny today, according to John Sauter. He is our meteorologist here at CBC Manitoba, and we're going to just get to a minus 2. So, no plus temperatures today, but a calm day, sunny day, nice day. Now, tomorrow we'll wake up to a minus 10, and then we have another minus 2. Sunny in the morning, increasing clouds in the afternoon. Wind gust to 40 from the southeast by the afternoon if you're planning any outdoor activities with that minus 2. Sunday, a minus 1 again in the sunshine. And then into next week, John Sauter has delivered up a pair of zeros Monday, Tuesday, and then a 3 and a 4. There's your positive temperatures, your plus temperatures, yes, by Wednesday, Thursday. So,
wow, okay.
Yeah, might be seeing, we're going to be seeing a green December this first week of December as the snow will be melting, the little traces of snow we got yesterday. In Brandon right now, minus 5 on the way to a minus 2, and again, cloudy in Brandon at this hour. And Thompson, you're minus 23. You'll be sunny today on the way to a high of minus 13. In Brandon, you're going to be minus 2 like Winnipeg. Once again, minus 3. Streets are wet out there. I sure needed the windshield washer fluid yesterday afternoon, boogieing around the city, so you will need it again today as well. 788-3093 is the commuter and traffic line. Let me know if you see anything out there. We heard from Heather about that issue on St. Anne's. It's not, and near Fermor, it's not impacting traffic at this point, but anything else that's happening out there, 788-3093.
Hi, I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. You're listening to Make the Season Kind on CBC Radio 1. All day, CBC Manitoba's programming is in support of Harvest Manitoba. To donate, call 1-204-982-3581. That's 1-204-982-3581. Or head to cbc.ca/BeKindMB. Thanks for listening and happy holidays.
6:15 a.m. is the time right now. Well, let's start with a question this morning on our special broadcast. How many weeks without a paycheck could you go before your basic needs become affordable. Dave Houle was fully employed his whole life, but after a few weeks without work, as I mentioned, he did find himself at Harvest Manitoba's Winnipeg Street Food Bank for the first time. He's back at work now, but he says he still needs Harvest to stay afloat. And he's representative of a lot of people because the number of employed people visiting food banks across Manitoba has grown by 66% in the last year. Now, 40% of the people who get food at Harvest are employed. Let that sink in for a moment. CBC's Corey Funk spoke with Dave as he was picking out his food for the month.
Kale. Well, you can always give it a try. Like I said, that's what Google's for, right? Anything's edible. Anything is. At the end of today, I guess I will be a firm fan of kale.
I hear it's a superfood.
It is. Yeah.
How long have you been coming to Harvest for?
Just a couple months now. Yeah. I had some issues. And my girlfriend actually told me about this place. Oh, sorry, brother. And I had some real issues. And this place really was a saving grace.
So in terms of, the decision you made to start coming to Harvest, was it mostly because of affordability? Like, tell me about, are you want to kind of go into a little bit about, what made you want to start coming here?
It was a necessity. It was a need. Yeah, there was absolutely, it was a need. I had some hard times with WCB. And the place that I work, I won't tell you where I work.
That's Workers' Compensation Board.
Yeah.
And you're employed full time then?
I am now. Yeah.
Okay.
I had issues with the license, so I wasn't able to work. I was off work for almost 3 months, and I had nothing saved. So my rent actually got backed up. My landlord was nice enough to let me, finally get back to work and catch up with my rent. And so I gave him 90% of what I was making. Yeah, so paychecks don't go far when 90% of it goes for rent. And I literally I had no idea what I was going to do for food. None. My family helped me out radically and drastically because I was in a hard time. I was in a hard way, bud. I really thought I was actually going to lose my apartment. Yeah, it was that bad. Yeah, and then having a damaged body as well.
Right. So yeah, you're saying you use a crutch. You've been using a crutch for 10 years. Getting around for you is tough. Yeah. Have you ever had to use Harvest before? Is this the first?
Never. No. So.
What was that like coming in for the first time for you?
It was very different. For like the last 18 years, I've been fully employed, right? And gainfully employed, if you want to say. And so, I mean, paying my own rent, raising 3 cats, paying my own food, and having a life. And to all of a sudden have that literally ripped away. And while I was struggling to recover from an injury and a surgery, yeah, it was very, very difficult part of my life.
Was there some stigma you felt you had to navigate when you walked in here for the first time?
I had to, how do you say, suck it up? Yeah, yeah. A lot of us are, once you have like a full-time job, you don't expect to have to use something like this, right? Yeah. Especially when you've been able to do it on your own for like the last 18 years and longer, I mean, I live alone. Nobody helps out my rent and all the rest. Yeah. Yeah. It was more of a me thing. Yeah. But, I mean, obviously I realized that that's what this place is for, is to help people out when they are having issues. Yeah. It's a non-judgmental. Yeah. There were no questions asked. Yeah. I've had nothing but a good experience here. Yeah, very friendly staff. Because of my situation where I was still considered employed, but just wasn't able to work. I don't think there was any other kind of social programs that were available. Obviously, no one's going to give me money, right? Because I was injured during the WCB thing, and then just waiting to be able to get back to work, right? I don't think there was any other place where I could have got any other kind of help.
That was Harvest Manitoba client Dave Houle speaking with CBC's Corey Funk. Well, listening in and actually nodding at so many points in that conversation, sitting in the studio with us this morning is Vince Barletta, who's going to be spending time with us throughout the show. He's president and CEO of Harvest Manitoba. Hi, Vince.
Good morning, Marcy.
Tell me what stood out from you from that conversation Corey had with Dave.
Well, when I hear Dave's story, every story is unique, Marcy, but so many stories are stories just like Dave's. People who never thought in their life that they were going to need to come to a food bank, to come to Harvest Manitoba as someone in need, and finding that they were one crisis away, one health challenge away, a few paychecks lost away from having to have that. And I'm just so thankful that because of the support of Manitobans, we're able to support people like Dave.
What's it been like for you to be at Harvest during this record year? Just so people know, there's been a 150% increase in food bank usage in our community since 2019, 30% increase year over year. I know 50% of first-time food bank clients in Winnipeg are displaced Ukrainians. Another 50% when you break down the numbers are kids. What's that like day in, day out to be sort of, trying to get ahead of that and help people?
Well, it's tough to hear the numbers, but it's amazing, the generosity of Manitobans. At the end of the day, we rely on the generosity of Manitobans on events like we're having today with CBC to raise those funds. We're getting the job done, Marcy, and that's the hopeful part. But the reality is, as we see those numbers go up and up and up, this is what nobody intended when Harvest began, when Winnipeg Harvest began, Harvest Manitoba, the work we do today. Almost 40 years now, Marcy, we've been doing this in the community.
For people that haven't plugged into the work that you do, they might be thinking, Harvest, it's a food bank. But I mean, you work with 389 food banks and in agencies as well across the province. How many people do you feed a month? What are the numbers?
Well, the numbers right now, almost 50,000 people a month are going to a food bank somewhere in the province of Manitoba. About another 50,000 people are getting help through other Harvest programs at soup kitchens, drop-in centers, school nutrition, daycares, you name it. And again, not just in Winnipeg, but 46 communities outside of Winnipeg across the province are also benefiting from Harvest work.
Well, thank you for sitting in with us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Marcy.
Vince Barletta, he's going to be with us for the show, President and CEO of Harvest Manitoba. And as mentioned, today is all about making the season kind.
Hi, I'm Drayden. Here's your 3 apples. Have a good day.
Hi, I'm Dayton. So bees would get 3 cans from these cans here to the tomato soup here, and 3. We're volunteering at the Nelson Street Church Food Bank.
You're listening to Make the Season Kind on CBC Radio 1.
Today, all of CBC Manitoba's programming is in support of Harvest Manitoba.
To donate, call 204-982-3581.
That's 204-982-3581.
Or visit cbc.ca/BeKindMB.
Thanks and happy holidays.
And now live from Studio 11 here at CBC Manitoba, I am so pleased that our first live performance this morning, live music, is a whole bunch of people, specifically students from Meadows West. They are the Meadows West School Choir, and they're all down in our music studio under the direction of Paul Ong. And they have a song about peace and community coming together, but really how important peace is in our world today. It's called One Day.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play one day, one day, one day. One day, one day, one day. Oh, it's not about win or lose, 'cause we all lose when they feed on the souls of the innocent. Blood drenched pavement, keep on moving till the waters stay raging. In this maze, you can lose your way, your way. It might drive you crazy, but don't let it face you. No way, no way. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it will all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, one day, one day, one day. Oh, one day, one day, one day. Oh, there's no change, treat people the same. Stop with the violence, down with the hate. For they will be free and proud to be under the same sun. Sing songs of freedom like way oh, way oh, way oh. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play. One day, one day, one day. Oh, one day, one day, one day. Oh.
Live on CBC from our music studio on our special day of broadcast in support of Harvest Manitoba, we are making the season kind. And what a better way to make the season kind than to have some kids on first thing in the morning. This is the choir from Meadows West School. Let's come on over here under the direction of Paul Ong. Come on over, Paul. Way to go, you guys. Can we have a round of applause? Come on, parents. Yay! Everyone's up here, all cross-legged in the front row, wearing Santa hats and Rudolph ears and holding their ukuleles. Paul Ong, I was already weeping this morning listening to the kids, because something about hearing kids sing about one day and their hopes for the future and their hopes for peace is kind of a theme today too, because we're talking about hunger today, and we need a lot of help and hope in coming together as a community as well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Marcy, for having us. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our Meadows West School community, our families, and our music teacher, Miss Riz.
Yay! Let's cheer for the teacher!
And made sure that they were ready for this morning.
Hi, Miss Riz. Nice on the keyboard.
Thank you so much.
I liked it. I liked it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Tell me a little bit about your school for a second. So what area of town are you in, and how often are you singing out and about in community?
So we are on 150 Inkster Garden Drive. We're on the northwest quadrant by Tyndall Park area, and this is one of our very first big gigs this year.
Good.
But this evening we are also at the hockey game at Canada Life Center.
Oh my gosh, you guys! So that you're here early, and then later on you're going to be performing.
Yes, it's a different group of kids, but we've been very fortunate to have a wonderful group of staff and school committee that works in partnership, and our wonderful music teacher, Miss Riz, is always ready to do things for the kids.
What does it mean to you to be here today as we are trying to come together to help people in our community? And when you explained it to the kids, I'll talk to them in the next hour, but when you explained it to the students, what was their reaction?
I think it's really it's a good opportunity for us to be here, because in Meadows West School we try to have our kids commit to acting on peace and acting on being part of the community, and how can they be how can they be involved and be actively engaged and doing little things on their own to make a difference and make an impact. And this speaks very well to what we believe in as a school community, and trying to make an impact and helping out.
Well, today you certainly will be, and you're going to be singing more too. So who likes to talk? Put your hand up. Come on, I love to talk. You like to talk? What does it make you feel like when I tell you that where we live in Winnipeg, 50% of kids need to use the food bank?
I don't know.
Yeah. Have you ever been hungry before?
No.
No, I've never been hungry before either. I've been very lucky to live in Winnipeg. How do you feel about being here to help out and support and sing?
Good.
Yeah. What are you guys going to be singing later this morning? What have you been practicing?
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that, you guys. Right before the news here, Heather Wells is in with our local news. I just want to throw it back to Pat. We're in our music studio, Studio 11. Pat's in Studio 15, and I believe he has a total for already what has been donated. So again, that donation number, 9823581. Pat, what do we know?
Well, this started yesterday, Marcy, so we're already at $11,086. So we want to get those phones. Yay! Big round of applause. We want to get those phones ringing. Once again, 982-3581, or you can donate online, cbc.ca/BeKindManitoba.
Coming up in the next half hour of the show, as we've been hearing on the program, Harvest collects and distributes food all across the province, but there's also a small area on site at the warehouse on Winnipeg Street where people pick up needed items. That's where I met a senior who shared. He's 75 years old. He walked through the snow to get there. He said right now He could not get by without that help from Harvest. Stay tuned for his story as we continue to make the season kind. Right now, though, your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is -3, a mild start to December. We're going to see sunshine today and continuing mild temperatures, a high of -2. It has been 1 year since Winnipeg police announced 3 additional murder allegations against the same man. Jeremy Skibicki was charged with first-degree murder in the deaths of Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, and a third victim known only as Buffalo Woman. Since then, families of Harris and Myron have been pushing for a search of a landfill for their remains. Harris's cousin, Melissa Robinson, says the family is feeling renewed optimism a search will be conducted, but she says this past year has been difficult.
We're still pretty much at step 1, right? Like, we still don't have Morgan. And, you know, that's been our end goal all along, is, you know, to retrieve her, bring her home, lay her to rest properly.
Skibicki is also charged with first-degree murder in the death of Rebecca Contois. He has pleaded not guilty to all 4 counts. His trial is scheduled to start at the end of April. Winnipeg police are asking you to avoid the area of northbound St. Anne's Road between Fermor and Havelock. There is a heavy police presence there this morning. For now, police are only saying it is a police matter. Traffic is not being affected, but you are being told as the morning progresses to expect delays in that area, and drivers, police say, would be wise to find an alternate route this morning. Once again, that is northbound St. Anne's Road between Fermor and Havelock, where police are. Police are also asking for your help this morning, finding a missing 82-year-old man. John Friesen was last seen around 1 yesterday afternoon in the area of Ballantrae Drive and Newmarket Boulevard in Fort Garry. He's described as being 6 feet tall, medium build with white hair and brown eyes. Police say Friesen was last seen driving a white 2010 Chevy Malibu with Manitoba plates WJ2922. If you have seen him or his car, or if you know anything about where John Friesen might be, call police. The temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is over. A red alert blaring from sirens in southern Israel, warning of incoming rockets, each side blaming the other for the renewed fighting. Israeli Defense Forces say Hamas broke the ceasefire agreement by not releasing more hostages and firing rockets at Israeli sites. Israeli airstrikes once again are bombarding Gaza. In Han Yunis, wounded Palestinians are being rushed to hospital. Just east of that city, the Israeli army is dropping leaflets telling people to leave. You can hear the latest on the Middle East as well as other national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. It is tough to make ends meet when you're living on social assistance, but even harder when you have health conditions that require a special diet. CBC's Emily Brass has more now on a Selkirk family struggling to afford the healthy foods they need.
Corns, peaches.
Sharon McCorster goes to a food bank to stretch her grocery budget.
I got to start a week ahead of time thinking of my routes and how much I have to spend.
McCorster feeds her family of 5 on not much more than her old age pension. She's raising 3 kids who all have special dietary needs, and her husband's food choices are limited because of diabetes.
He'll have his fruits and vegetables, and even if it does have sugar, you know, he'll take a chance, or he'll just take half of it or something, just to save money.
U of M nutritionist Natalie Riediger says managing chronic illnesses on a fixed income is a struggle.
Impossible. You know, you don't have any control when you go to a food bank, right? People are a victim to whatever is available.
Harvest Manitoba says it occasionally offers things like whole grain pasta and bread, but only when they're donated. When it purchases in bulk, it buys more processed foods to make its dollars stretch. Emily Brass, CBC News, Selkirk.
CBC Manitoba is presenting Make the Season Kind, a full day of programming today in support of Harvest Manitoba. Well, first on the board didn't translate into a win for the Winnipeg Jets. Cole Perfetti in the first period on TSN as the Jets lose to the Edmonton Oilers 3-1. All the Oilers' goals came in the third period. This is Winnipeg's third straight loss. Head coach Rick Bowness says the Jets had a bad night in the face-off circle.
They killed us in the face-off circle, so you're chasing them all the time. So we're not trying to sit back, but they're winning so many face-offs, we end up chasing them. Like, what do we, 29% and 71%? I mean, that's pretty much the whole game. We're chasing them.
Winnipeg's next game is tomorrow afternoon against Chicago. You can find more news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right. Thanks very much, Heather Wells.
You're welcome.
It is right now 6:36 a.m. on 89.3 FM, 990 a.m. or on the app this morning. And you also might be watching on YouTube. Good morning, everyone. You're going to get a special treat because today we're making the season kind for Harvest Manitoba. Once again, to donate, and we'll update the totals through the morning, 982-3581 or cbc.ca/BeKindMB. I'm always mindful, Pat, when we do this show every year, and I say it on the air every year, I've never been hungry in this province. That is a privilege. That is a privilege.
Is it ever? And we are seeing the need this year is just skyrocketed. It's really something. So do take a moment to think about others in need and give us a call. Out those numbers, 982-3581.
I know that I was talking to someone yesterday and they said they were switching some of their donation choices this year. And they just because they're thinking about the different needs in communities. So we've talked a great deal about housing already. And now we're talking food this morning. But everything starts with a full stomach. Right?
That's for sure.
All right, let's get into the regional forecast here. There's good news in that.
There is. And Marcy, I don't know if you saw the TV news last night at 6 o'clock. They reran a story from 1997. It was from December 23rd. It was about the green Christmas we're going to have. There was just no snow, and it was balmy. And we're kind of trending that way with these temperatures for the next couple of weeks here. It was really something to see because I remembered it was sometime in the late 90s we had that, but we have some warm temperatures on the way for the next week or so. We have some zeros by next week, and by next Thursday, John Sauter says a +4 here in the city of Winnipeg. So this is the regional forecast. We'll take a look at what's happening. Let's start off with Brandon, shall we? -5 right now, partly cloudy on the way to a -2, pretty straight ahead. It is cloudy right now over Brandon. I'm looking at satellite imagery in the very southwest corner around Melita area seems to be clear right now, but those clouds are moving east, and we're going to have a mostly clear morning, it looks like, for Brandon anyway, once those clouds do move on. But -5, -2, tonight down to -12, and then tomorrow cloudy, and we'll see a high of 0 tomorrow, so melting temperatures for Brandon. Up in Thompson, good morning, Thompson, -23. You will be sunny today, and you'll warm up 10 degrees to a high of -13. Going to have about a -33 wind chill right now, though, with that -23, Thompson. Tonight dipping down to a -18. Tomorrow, mainly cloudy and a high of -10. Now, here in the Peg, it is -3. We're going to warm up just 1 degree to a -2. Not much wind expected. Southwest 10 this morning. Right now, it's about 7. I just looked at the wind speed. This afternoon, 10 to 15 kilometers per hour. Tonight, dipping down to a -10. We'll be clear overnight to see the stars. Sunshine tomorrow morning, and we'll get to a -2 in the afternoon. Wind will be a little bit picking up, though. A little bit breezy, 20 to 40 kilometers from the southeast tomorrow. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, temperatures of -1, 0, and 0. And as mentioned, by next Thursday, a 4 on the plus side. Give you some quick temps right now. We are going to see a 0 in Steinbach today. It's -5 right now. Verdun is -1. You're going to hover around there at around -2. And Pinawa, southeast corner, -7 on the way to a -3. Dauphin Parkland, you're a -4. You're only going to warm up 2 to a -2 for a daytime high. And Gimli Interlake, -6 right now. You will get to a -3. And I should mention Churchill, periods of light snow today, -14. You're pretty much going to stay there to -13. Once again, -3 on the wet, greasy, messy streets of Winnipeg. 788-3093 is the traffic line to reach me if you see anything that's going on as far as major delays, stalls, collisions, anything like that.
So you were talking about the total we were at already for Make the Season Kind, even though we're early. I want to mention here that Dave and Elena Forgan, and forgive me, I was down with the choir. Yeah, we haven't said this yet on air, right?
Nope.
Okay, so they're going to be matching donations today up to $100,000. So that's really important to say, right? So can we just have a moment, please, to say thank you to Dave and Elena Forgan,
Thanks,
right?
Dave and Elena.
Yeah. And Vince is in studio with us. So Vince Barletta, the president and CEO of Harvest Manitoba. We ask every year, but obviously any help is needed. I know donations of food, volunteerism, but how far does a dollar go when you get monetary donation?
Well, every dollar we raise at Harvest is multiplied by 10. When you consider the food donations, the volunteer hours, the way we're able to stretch that dollar through our purchasing power, and you talked a little bit about that. So every dollar we're raising today is multiplied by 10 when it comes to impact, but also every dollar you give right now is getting multiplied again through that gift from the Forgan family.
So in terms of when you think about it, if someone's out there this morning thinking about giving, but they feel like they don't have something that will make a difference, maybe they might be able to manage a $5 or $10 donation, and maybe they think maybe that won't matter. What would you say to that?
Every dollar counts. All of the support we get from Manitobans, whatever you and your family can do, it all adds up to support Harvest. And if you and your family are doing okay and you've got a little bit extra that you can use to support Harvest to help others in the community, we ask that you consider doing that today for us.
$11,602 in total so far this morning as we make the season kind. Thank you, Vince. 6:41 a.m. We are throughout our special broadcast today going to be touching base as well with some of the news of the day that's going on. So that means next we are going to business news this morning. Crystalie Ramlakan is here. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So speaking of the economy and how tough times are, actually, you're starting the Biz Report this morning with the latest numbers that show our economy shrank in Canada in the third quarter. What does it actually mean for interest rates for people?
Yeah, that's right. So, household spending was flat and exports declined. So with those weak numbers, the Bank of Canada probably won't raise interest rates anytime soon. Its next decision is next week. So, we're thinking, okay, they probably won't go up. So when are they going to go down, right? When are we going to see interest rate cuts? So economists are predicting cuts in the second half of next year. Some say maybe even as early as the second quarter. They don't think inflation is going to be low enough for the central bank to justify cuts before that. And they say stubborn inflation around housing costs will likely keep inflation and rates higher for longer. So for more on this, here's Sherry Cooper, who's the chief economist at Dominion Lending Centers.
I do think that we'll see them start cutting interest rates for the spring housing market. I think this is all good news for the economic outlook longer term. And I expect the Bank of Canada to cut interest rates next year by about 200 basis points, which would certainly be welcome. But they'll do it gradually, 25 basis points at a time.
The other thing people are wondering, are we in a recession? So Statistics Canada previously reported a slight decline for the second quarter. So with yesterday's numbers, that would qualify as a technical recession. But the data agency actually revised those numbers to be higher than initially reported. And now says the economy grew slightly in the second quarter. So economists say that makes talks of recession premature. But overall, as we know, the economy is struggling. It really hasn't grown in the last 6 months, and it will probably struggle to grow over the next half a year too.
Let's go to another story this morning, and this one is just frankly ranks under the factor of cool because I've never heard of this. There's a place where electric vehicles can be charged without plugging in. How does that work?
Yes, that's right. So new technology has been installed underneath a street in Detroit that can charge vehicles as they drive. So crews have installed what's billed as the United States' first wireless charging public roadway for EVs. And so copper charging coils will allow vehicles with receivers to charge their batteries while driving, idling, parking above the coils. And the coils only activate, though, when a vehicle with a receiver passes over them. So officials say the roadway is safe for pedestrians and other motorists and animals. Now, the Michigan Department of Transportation says the quarter-mile segment will be used to test and perfect the technology and ahead of making it available to the public within a few years. So demonstrations were even held this week. And so the technology belongs to an Israel-based developer of wireless charging solutions for electric vehicles. And the company also has contracts for similar roadways in Israel, Sweden, Italy, and Germany.
That's fascinating. In my head, you're going to laugh. In my head, I'm like, IKEA's making a big bedside lamp where you can just park your car. Wireless charging.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the numbers this morning. What do they tell us?
So in Europe, markets are higher, closing out their best month since January amid a global rally in stocks and bonds. Germany, the UK, and France are all up. In Asia, markets are lower amid mixed economic data from across the region. Japan is down, Shanghai is up, Hong Kong is down. Oil is up 10 cents to 76.06 US per barrel. Gold is down to $20 to $2,040.30 US per ounce. And the dollar is up 0.16 of a cent to 73.9 cents US.
All right. Have a safe and lovely weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday, Crystalie.
You too, Marcy. Thank you.
With our business report, that's Crystalie Ramlakan.
Hi, I'm Victoria Pott, and I've been coming to the Nassau Street Food Bank for about 4 years now. Necessity these days, and with prices and everything, and I'm myself on disability, so it's essential that we have these food banks. You're listening to Make the Season Kind on CBC Radio 1. Today, all of CBC Manitoba's programming is in support of Harvest Manitoba. To donate, call 204-982-3581. That's 204-982-3581. Or visit cbc.ca/bekindmb. Thanks, everyone, and have a great holiday.
So those phone lines are open now, and the musicians are standing by to sing for us. Once again, live from CBC Studio 11, this is the school choir from Meadows West School with a holiday favorite.
Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. But do you recall the most famous reindeer of all? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Then all the reindeer loved him and shouted out with glee, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history. You'll go down in history.
Hey! Live in our music studio at CBC, we're making the season kind this morning in support of Harvest Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for joining us today. So we are raising awareness, we're getting into the holiday spirit, and part of that is giving back to the community with song. And also, if you have something to donate to Harvest, we'd love for you to check out the links as well and to call the numbers we've been mentioning. But right now, let's celebrate the kids from Meadows West School. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Leah.
Yeah, and what's your name?
My name's Sienna. I'm Grace.
Thank you for being here. Tell me a little bit about what you were thinking as you were coming down to sing and thinking about, why you came today to help out with Harvest.
Well, first of all, I was thinking it's really early to do this, but also for a good cause, There are tons of people who aren't as fortunate as our school and us in general, who don't have access to the basic needs that a human, requires to live to live a happy life.
Yeah. I love that you're smiling. Do you, when you do things like this that are, that are giving back, how does it make you feel?
Makes me feel like Christmas spirit.
Yeah. Right? How about for yourself? What were you thinking about as you're coming down today?
Well, when I was coming down, I thought it was really early and I was kind of half asleep, I'll admit. But I was happy I was attending and doing something for a good cause, because I'd rather help out than not do anything.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about your school. So what grade are you in?
I am in the 8th grade.
8th grade? How about you?
8th grade as well.
Is everybody, are some of you guys in other grades? What grade?
5.
Yeah.
5. Grade 8.
Yeah. So grade 8s, grade 5s. Anyone in a different grade? Where's over here? Hi. What grade are you in?
Grade 1.
Grade 1. Thanks for coming. What's your name?
Indy.
Nice to meet you. Thank you guys for coming here from Meadows West. We introduced 3 students, and I didn't ask you the question I was asking them. How are you feeling about being here today and helping with the community?
happy to do it.
Yeah. What's your school like? What's at school going on? Are you guys singing a lot? Have you done a lot of choir songs? Learned lots of songs this year?
Yes. Yes.
I saw the whole school was packed for the assembly around Remembrance Day.
Right. It was nice seeing everyone together.
What do you feel like when you sing?
Oh, nervous a little bit, but also like I'm performing for all of Winnipeg.
You guys sound great this morning. You want to say happy holidays to Manitoba? 1, 2, 3.
Happy holidays!
And how about we do one with your school name in it? That's silly me. Happy holidays from Meadows West. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy holidays from Meadows West!
I love that. Thank you guys for being here. Paul Long, and thank you very much for being here this morning.
Thank you, Marcy, and thank you to Mr. Ismas once again for making sure that our kids are ready. And thank you for the opportunity, Marcy, and to the whole team of CBC.
We're coming together to make the season kind today on CBC. Time right now is 10 to 7 on 89.3 FM, 990 AM, or on the app. Temperature in Winnipeg right now is -3. It's mostly cloudy, but today it's going to be sunny, and then it's going to get kind of warm through the weekend and into next week. Our high, though, today is just around -2, so we'll stay below 0 for our Friday here. Hard to believe it is December the 1st, right? Well, up next on the show, as we've been hearing already, Harvest Manitoba collects food and distributes it all across our province. But there's also a small area on site at the warehouse in Winnipeg where people who live nearby can pick up much needed items. That's where I met 75-year-old David Payton. He was sitting, leaning on his cane. He had snow melting off of his boots. He and his buddy had walked down to Harvest together from the nearby Weston neighborhood. They were there together also so they could share the weight of carrying their bags home as they trudged through the snow. I spoke to David as his friend was choosing some items.
Peanut butter, yeah, it's gotta have your protein, and peanut butter is actually, a good substitute. The price of meat's gone crazy.
Yeah, it sure has. What brought you here today? We're sitting in the room where people are going through and getting different groceries.
Kind of like to eat. Not any different than a lot of people these days. You run short of food, and you have tough decisions to make. Hydro has to be paid, and the expenses.
You actually came with your friend, right?
Yeah. We live, in the same place. So.
Have you been coming to Harvest for a long time, or was this a newer thing for you, or?
Well, I was going before the pandemic, and then things were closed down everywhere, and that became difficult. Kind of lost track of people, lost track of the sense of community, and it was a little alienating. And
how important is this place to your life and your well-being to be able to come here and get food?
Well, it's you get rough times, and it helps you get through when things are kind of sticky. You hope for things to straighten out, for things to get better, and then you do kind of feel badly about because a lot of people are relying on this resource, and you don't want to be taking resources away from people that need it,
So you're thinking about that when you're making your choice to come here?
Yeah, you touched the nerve there.
Yeah. Well, you know what though? It's for all of us. I mean, everyone's one step away. You never know.
When you see the increasing load there is on food banks and on other resources, and things are bad for a lot of people. It does make you question the future, because we expected things to bounce back after the pandemic, after things started to open up, and then the high prices, put a strain on everything.
What kinds of things do you get when you come here usually?
Potatoes and staples, whatever is edible.
Yeah. Would you be able to make ends meet without Harvest right now?
Not right now, but hopefully.
Are you guys on the move?
Yeah.
Carrying it? What did you get?
I got a little bit of stuff.
Good, good. And peanut butter. Okay, I don't think he's going to share his peanut butter. David Payton, who I met at Harvest, Manitoba, 75 years old, also shared with me that he says he's lucky that he and his brother have a property that they happen to own, since he says other seniors he talks to about old age security specifically, they're saying now that it just covers the cost of rent in some parts of Winnipeg, which leaves you with nothing left. 5 to 7 is the time right now on our special show as we make the season kind for Harvest Manitoba. Vince Barletta of Harvest, seniors coming in, people that have worked their whole lives, often and just find themselves in this place. You heard I touched a nerve in my conversation with David, because, no one wants to be there. It's important to say there's no shame in it. It's there for you. But it's so difficult for people to come in.
Well, I think about my mother. She's healthy and well, and she's 85 years old and living in Brandon and probably listening to us right now, and she doesn't need to use a food bank. But I think about, there are so many people like her, seniors, who, after working all their lives, find themselves coming into difficulties in retirement with housing, and they're coming to a food bank, and we never used to see those kinds of numbers for seniors. It's heartbreaking to see it.
How big of a factor is rent?
Rent's a huge issue for people from all walks of life. Working people, seniors, the prices of housing keeps going up and up and up. I know that conversation about affordable housing keeps happening here in our community. I hope that all three levels of government get to it, because we need to get more housing going for folks at all ages and all walks of life here in Winnipeg.
Vince Barletta in studio with us, President and CEO of Harvest Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. We're making the season kind today. If you have anything you can give, 982-3581, every dollar matters. Also, we have a local couple of Winnipeggers that are matching donations up to $100,000, so keep that coming if you have anything to give. But no amount is insignificant. There's so much need out there. It's record-breaking this year across Canada and also here where we live in Manitoba. Let's go for headlines to Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, we've been telling you this morning about that heavy police presence on St. Anne's Road between Fermor and Havelock. We can now tell you police have cleared that area. They had been there for what they said was a police matter, but police have now cleared the area. It is all clear on St. Anne's Road between Fermor and Havelock. True North Real Estate and the Southern Chiefs Organization are working more closely together on their downtown Winnipeg development projects. True North, as we know, is looking at buying Portage Place Mall, and the SCO is turning the former Bay building into a mixed-use project called a mixed-use project. And we're going to hear the latest from True North coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
All right, thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Pat, do we have a donation update?
We do. $13,385 at 6:58 in the morning. Way to go, Manitoba. Woo. And you can call and make a donation at 982-3581, and you can donate online, cbc.ca/BeKindMB.
We have more live music coming up in the next hour from our music performance studio here. Aaron Prop and Lyric Roy are going to be with us again, thanks to Meadows West Choir. The students able to join us early. Also, we'll continue sharing stories that outline the need. We're going to take you ahead on Make the Season Kind into the call center.
I deal with a lot of calls where people are apologizing to, I'm sorry, I really need this, I have to phone in. And I tell them, it's okay. There's no shame in phoning, so please call us. We'll help you.
We're going to hear more about the historic numbers of people that Harvest is trying to help across the province. But this morning, we're hoping you can help as well. We're making the season kind. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM, or on the CBC Listen app. In addition to those stories in the next hour, 10 years ago, CBC first heard the story of Rena Hermkins and her late husband. They pitched a tent outside Harvest. They wanted to get away from risky rooming houses. It changed their lives. Today, she continues to share her story of poverty, addiction, and hope with students so they can connect the dots between hunger and health. Stay tuned. We'll have her story as our special broadcast continues. World Report's coming up next. It's 1 minute to 7 on your Friday morning.
On The Current.
There were a lot of weavers in the valley. Right now, there are no looms left except for the ones in the loom shed here.
Newfoundland has its own deep culture of traditional skills and crafts. Some of that knowledge is being lost over time, though, but a project is working to preserve it and seeing success and winning awards. Crafts at Risk, coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning from CBC News. I'm John Northcott. The fighting between Israel and Hamas is on again. Efforts to extend the temporary ceasefire have failed. Explosions and gunfire are being reported in Gaza, and air raid sirens warn of incoming rockets in southern Israel. The CBC's Margaret Evans has the latest from Jerusalem.
A child crying in a crowded Gaza hospital in the hours since the relative peace offered by a 7-day pause was ripped away. Both Israel and Hamas blaming the other for the failure to extend it further. Here, Palestinians are rushed to a hospital in Khan Yunis after Israeli airstrikes collapsed buildings in one neighborhood. I was making the children some food, says Mohammed Kanan. We aren't criminals, we aren't terrorists. We just want to live in safety for our children to feel safe. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry says dozens of Palestinians have been killed since fighting resumed in the early hours of the morning. Israel has been dropping leaflets in parts of Khan Yunis telling people they're now in a dangerous battleground and to move towards Rafah. Hamas accuses Israel of reneging on the amount of fuel it said would be allowed into Gaza. Israel Defense Forces spokesperson Peter Lerner says Hamas is the one to have broken the agreement.
Hamas broke the ceasefire because we demanded that they will stand up to their word and release all the women and children.
Yesterday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to do much more to protect civilians from harm in Gaza if fighting were to resume. Some 1.8 million Gazans have been displaced from the north into central and south Gaza already, and people struggling to survive in the small, narrow strip say talk of so-called safe zones is meaningless. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Jerusalem.
Jordan's King Abdullah says Palestinians are also feeling the weight of another global crisis, climate change.
In a region already on the front lines of climate change, the massive destruction of war makes the environmental threats of water scarcity and food insecurity even more severe.
He was speaking this morning at the UN's Climate Summit in Dubai, where Western leaders are pledging money to help developing countries recover from climate disasters. The fund is worth about 600 million Canadian dollars, and that number is expected to grow, as is the pressure to act. The CBC's Susan Ormiston is in Dubai with more.
With what we are witnessing, our choice now is a starker and darker one. How dangerous are we actually prepared to make our world?
King Charles was the special guest in Dubai at COP28, invited in part because of his long environmental credentials.
Ladies and gentlemen, in your hands is an unmissable opportunity to keep our common hope alive. In 2050, our grandchildren won't be asking what we said. They will be living with the consequences of what we did or didn't do.
Heads of state gathered on Friday to urge their negotiators to make progress at these talks, hosted by the UAE, a member of OPEC. In his remarks, the UN's Secretary General Antonio Guterres leaned into the oil and gas industry.
So allow me to have a message for fossil fuel company leaders. Your old road is rapidly aging. Do not double down on an obsolete business model. Lead the transition to renewables.
Canada opened its pavilion this morning. Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault announcing new money for climate disasters.
Canada will be pledging $16 million to the Loss and Damage Fund. We think this is a significant step forward.
And, he says, sets a positive tone for the tough negotiations ahead. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Dubai.
Ottawa is beginning consultations to create a red dress alert. It would be a new emergency notification system for missing Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. It would work like an Amber Alert, phone notifications that tell the public about missing children. New Democrat MP Leah Gazan is leading efforts to set up the program.
We know through the National Inquiry into Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women and Girls that one of the key criticism was a failure to act when women, girls, 2S, LGBT, QQIA go missing in the first place. We need this. It's a life and death matter. There's no more time to wait.
There's still no timeline yet for the emergency notification system. The next Premier of the Northwest Territories will be chosen next week. Newly elected MLAs, all of whom are independents, will decide who gets the job. As Kate Kyle tells us, 4 candidates are vying for the position.
Seeing no one else, those will be the nominees for Premier today.
Each of the 4 contenders had 20 minutes to try to convince their colleagues why they should get the top job. All but one are former cabinet ministers.
To be frank, I believe the GNWT is stretched too thin.
R.J. Simpson says the territorial government can't keep spending like it has been.
There isn't enough money to keep increasing our budget at this pace.
Kieran Testart committed to more action to settle land claims and self-government agreements.
Without certainty over land and resources, we cannot build a strong foundation for success.
Shane Thompson and Carolyn Wozniak helped lead the territory through last summer's unprecedented wildfire season and multiple evacuations. Both said as Premier they would build trust and accountability.
I've always respected people's right to be heard and criticize government's policies and decisions.
Pay attention, follow up, find the barriers to success, and break them down.
There's a lot of conversations going on in the hallways.
Sean Dean says the public speeches are only one part of the race for Premier. He's the former Director of Cabinet Communications for the last 2 governments. Dean says candidates need the support from their fellow MLAs.
A sense of urgency, a sense of mission amongst the candidates, sort of trying to seek folks out.
The vote will be held by secret ballot next Thursday. Kate Kyle, CBC News, Yellowknife.
To the U.S., where the Republican fate of, or rather the
and humiliating people you disagree with.
And Ron DeSantis going after Gavin Newsom.
He'll tell a blizzard of lies to be able to try to mask the failures.
The basic idea behind the debate was to have each man talk about how they have governed their respective state. Often Newsom was put on the defensive, like when DeSantis blamed him for thousands of Californians leaving the state.
They actually at one point ran out of U-Hauls in the state of California because so many people were leaving.
Several times Newsom accused DeSantis of changing his position on issues like immigration simply to appeal to the Republican Party's far right.
You're trying to out-Trump Trump. And by the way, how's that going for you? You're down 41 points in your own home state.
DeSantis repeatedly claimed that Newsom also wants to run for president, but is afraid to admit it. Newsom never completely ruled out a possible candidacy.
At the DNC convention, they come and ask you, will you run? What will you say?
Joe Biden will be our nominee.
Steve Futterman for CBC News, Los Angeles.
Today is World AIDS Day, and the city of Toronto has committed to reaching a UN target with the aim of 95% of people infected with HIV who are not only aware of it, but getting care and positively managing the infection. John Maxwell is the executive director of the AIDS Committee of Toronto.
We know that once we get to those targets, we'll be in a city in which HIV infections are very rare, in which people living with HIV have access to the supports and medications they need so they can live long, healthy lives. And hopefully we can actually end HIV and AIDS 40 plus years later.
An estimated 63,000 Canadians are living with HIV, that number from the end of the year 2020. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. Welcome to a special edition of Information Radio on this first day of December. All day, CBC Manitoba will bring you stories of people impacted by hunger in our province as we come together to try and make the season kind in support of a harvest. Thanks for being with us.
You know, I saw people in the street all the time, but, you know, you give them some money and you said, okay, that's fine. You hand them some change, but I didn't understand the need. Like, I guess, to me, I was really surprised how many people rely on the food bank. It made me look at Winnipeg differently, yeah.
That's Arnold Getz. He answers calls for 6 hours a day at Harvest, and they never stop as the need is historic. We're going to hear about that from his perspective. Also, she says her addiction was worse when she was hungry, but Harvest was there with food and help. Now this Winnipegger is about to mark 10 years without using drugs. Stay tuned for her story on Make the Season Kind. 7:11 a.m. the time right now, and with your CBC Manitoba News headlines, let's get touch base with Heather Wells now from our news center. Hi there.
Hi. Well, the family of a woman police believe was murdered by an accused serial killer will honor her memory tonight. Morgan Harris's family will gather in North Kildonan outside the former home of the accused. This comes exactly 1 year after Winnipeg police announced charges against Jeremy Skibicki. We'll hear more. And the city of Winnipeg is helping a local brew pub keep a Christmas tradition alive. We're going to hear the latest in the story of the traveling humbug sign coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
It is time to get caught up on what's happening on your Friday here with your weather and traffic. So it's been kind of quiet out there traffic-wise. It's pretty warm, right?
Yeah, let's start with traffic since you mentioned it. 788-3093 traffic and commuter line. No reports of major stall delays, anything like that. There's that construction on Main Street between Disraeli and Higgins northbound that is going to slow you down. And last couple of mornings we heard about construction vehicles in the village southbound just before Confusion Corner where that new apartment block is going up. So that could be down to one lane this morning, so know about that. Also, eastbound Dougal between Panet and Holden, the curb lane, there's some sewer work going on there, so that's going to slow things down as well. Eastbound Dougal between Panet and Holden. Once again, the traffic line, 788-3093. In your forecast, warm and calm. How's that? -3 right now in the city of Winnipeg at the Forks, and it's calm, not really much wind. We're expecting to be hovering around this temperature -2, so we'll warm up a degree. And we will be sunny today. It's cloudy right now over the city of Winnipeg. I'm looking at a lot of cloud cover over central and southern Manitoba. It's moving eastward, so the southwest corner is clearing, and it will be clearing throughout the morning. But here in Winnipeg, pretty calm day, sunshine -2, -10 tonight, tomorrow sunny and breezy, another -2, and wind gusts to 40 in the afternoon from the southeast. Sunday, Monday, -1 and 0, and by next Wednesday and Thursday, Marcy, 3 and 4 degrees on the plus side, so pretty warm out there. In case you're wondering, the sun rises in 50 minutes at 8:03, and it sets at 4:31 as we are on this December 1st, which is really something to say, isn't it? December 1st, Marcy, yeah.
I know.
And once again, we're -3 and a pretty calm day out there. And do remember the windshield washer fluid because it's sloppy out there.
Kababayan, I'm Faith Fundal. You're listening to Make the Season Kind on CBC Radio 1. All day CBC Manitoba's programming is in support of Harvest Manitoba. To donate, call 1-204-982-3581. That's 1-204-982-3581. Or head to cbc.ca/BeKindMB. Thanks for listening and happy holidays.
Well, Harvest Manitoba, for those of you that are new to understanding what they do, they are, of course, a food bank, but they are actually a distribution center for 389 food banks. So it's a small part of what they do is have food on site at their warehouse. They support agencies all across the province that feed people and help people with other resources and services. And when we're talking people across the province, they serve 108,000 Manitobans each and every month through their member agencies. So for perspective, everyone, I mean, what's Brandon's population? Probably around 50, 60,000 people. 51,000 people, Pat's saying in my ears. So that's like double the population of Brandon every month. That is, the need at the member agencies. If you have anything that you can help with, we've been mentioning those numbers, 982-3581. Well, over the years, as CBC Manitoba has partnered to make the season kind, Harvest Manitoba has opened up their client services call center to us. That's where we get a chance to put on a muted headset and listen in confidentially and respectfully to those who are making that first phone call for help. This year, I sat beside Arnold Getz as he was taking the calls and connecting clients with food. And as you'll hear right now in Winnipeg, it's a job that never stops.
Harvest, hi, can I help you? What's your medical number, 6-digit? Did you go to Springs on the 2nd? So I'll get you the next one then, just a sec. Yeah? Oh, milk, sure, just a sec. We just have you as 2 adults. Yeah, it's for children though, we can't give it to adults. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't add milk to your file. Okay, bye-bye.
They were asking you for milk, I think. Was that right? And they said they had diabetes and they were looking for milk.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't give milk to... the milk producers have made a contract with Harvest that we only give... They supply the milk, but we can only give it to kids.
So what are we looking at here?
We try and answer people within 5 minutes, if we can. 10 in the queue right now, but with the increased volume these days is tough. So we're ready at 9:15 and we get on the lines right away. And there's always a big queue right at the start. So you can see right now we're up to 13-minute wait at this time. But so that's normal.
What do you notice through the day? Like, will you sit here in the call center taking these calls of need coming in for the community for how many hours are you here?
6 hours.
Does it ever stop?
No, we're assigning them to a food bank. So this is their first contact is with us to get them set up with a food bank. And then once they're set up with a food bank, we just rebook them for the next one so they don't have to call in unless they want to change food bank, or if they miss, then they have to call us back.
You've been with Harvest for some 11 years. Used to be in finance upstairs. How long have you been down here in this area?
4 years now.
What impact has it had on you?
Sometimes it's a little heartbreaking because I'll get a single mother with 3 children or something, and she's just lost her job, and you understand, and we try to get them help right away if we can. So we have a couple emergency food banks that we can assign them to right away. We have seniors, we have calling in that aren't quite making it now. We have people that are actually working, are not making it. We have to find them a food bank that works for them, either on the weekend, like on a Saturday, or during evenings. The dynamics are changing, so we're trying to help more people.
What's rewarding about the work to you as a human being?
I've always dealt with finance all my life. I'm an accountant, so I always dealt with colleagues and professionals, and it was quite an eye-opener for me to start dealing with the public. You're trying to be there for them, to listen a little bit to what they're saying, and then, some of them are crying, or you understand they're yelling because they just don't understand, and you try and, you quell that anger. We're going to find you something, don't worry, and we do.
Why did you get interested in being at Harvest yourself?
I guess I wanted to give back to the community. When I retired, I just wanted to help people.
How's it changed your view on Winnipeg, or made you a more, informed Winnipegger?
Well, yeah, more informed, more aware of what's going on in the city, more aware of what people need. I saw people in the street all the time, but you give them some money and you said, okay, that's fine. You hand them some change, but I didn't understand the need. Like, I guess to me, I was really surprised how many people rely on the food bank. I heard of Harvest, but I didn't think, okay, so they're handing out food, okay. But I didn't realize the depth that they do. I didn't know there was like 300 food banks in Winnipeg. That shocked me. And they're all vary. Like some take 150 people, some take 15. I was just amazed at the need, I guess, and it really surprised me. It made me look at Winnipeg differently, yeah. So I had a good job and everything. I didn't really think too much of the other side of being short of food or that. So it was a real surprise for me to find out how many people were actually short of food, and that what we do here actually helps them with their budget. That little supplement can really make a difference, and
How critical is it now?
Back before COVID, they were increasing, but not like this. And then with the war in Ukraine and I guess the unsteadiness with prices, we're just seeing people that we never had before. Like pensioners phoning in. I'm short again this week. I need some groceries. And
you mentioned the call, with a single mom, just as an example, who would call and say, "I lost my job. I got 3 kids. Connect me with a food bank." What other calls stay in your mind?
Some of the people are disabled that can't get out. Like we try and say, can you get somebody to pick up for you? Like you're allowed to do that. You can send somebody there to get your food. Those stick in my mind a lot, I deal with a lot of calls where people are apologizing to, "I'm sorry, I really need this, I have to phone in." I tell them it's okay, that we're here to help people, even if short term. I always tell them, especially if they phone and say, "I don't need it anymore," I just tell them, "Well, we're here if you need us again. Don't worry, there's no shame in phoning. So please call us. We'll help you,
What area of Winnipeg has the most new food banks when you look at all over the city?
Like the concentration of food banks are mainly downtown. Yep. We just got our first Sunday food bank in St. Norbert. Just trying to White Ridge is it? Well, there's one came up in White Ridge.
What do you wish Winnipeggers listening understood about our city and the need?
Well, I think the Winnipeggers have really stepped up to in our donations. Just keep on doing what you're doing. The need is there, and the need is great, and we can use volunteers. So donations, time, and food.
Arnold Getz at the Client Services Call Center at Harvest, Manitoba. While I was spending some time with him, he also shared that every single shift they get calls from international students who are in need of food. And he wanted us to pass along that you can use your student card to connect to a food bank. And the other change that gets explained is that they used to make appointments for all clients every 2 weeks. But the need is so great in Winnipeg right now that food banks are getting swamped with lineups. And so while they still do operate food banks in our community bi-weekly every 2 weeks, now they only book clients for appointments once a month to receive a larger amount of food that they say hopefully will get you through. But just all representative of the change and the need in Winnipeg. If you have anything to give, we're making the season kind.
So you need a pasta? Hi, I am Sylvester Ezenwata, a Nigerian and a volunteer with Nassau Church, Harvest, Manitoba. You are listening to Make the Season Kind on CBC Radio 1. Today, all of CBC Manitoba programming is in support of the Harvest Manitoba. To donate, call 204-982-3581. That is 204-982-3581. Or visit cbc.ca/BeKindMB. Thanks and happy holiday. Udo de Leono.
What a great laugh. 7:23 a.m. on 89.3 FM, 990 a.m. or on the app. I'm Marcy Marcuso. Well, of course, if you're a regular listener to CBC Manitoba in this particular day of the year, you know that a big part of this is live music as well. And so this hour, I'm thrilled to introduce our live musical act. They are in our performance studio, number 11, Performance Studio 11, Aaron Propp and Larry Roy. Here they are, live on CBC with The Frost.
You came out of the woods when I called you. ushered it in. I threw my woolen sheets down to the floor, and I welcomed the winter song in. The snowshoes buckled upon my feet. I waited the snow sea to sing, and it all came clear inside of my mind that the summer had been colder than spring. And you came out of the woods when I called you. You came out of the woods when I called you. The summer had melted my pride and my will, and it hardened my heart like a stone. Now this winter it blew with the north wind a chill, and awakened a love from of old. And I said, what am I, Lord, to see such a frost? Not a good deed since I left my bed. And I tried along just to sing in this song, and the frost made a crown for my head. You came out of the woods when I called you. You came out of the woods when I called you. The frost beckoned me out of my bed. The damp night had ushered it in. I threw my woolen sheets down to the floor, and I welcomed the winter song in. You came out of the woods when I called you. You came out of the woods when I called you. You came out of the woods when I called you.
How is that possibly live music? What an unbelievable, beautiful voice. Aaron Propp with Larry Roy. Aaron and Larry, Juno-nominated jazz duo from here in Winnipeg. They've won a Western Canadian Music Award. Aaron here on vocals and Larry on guitar, live at CBC. Beautiful. They're performing in Studio 11. I'm here in Studio 15. They're part of Making the Season Kind. We'll talk to them and have more music this hour. We have live music all throughout the day in all of our CBC programs as we come together to raise money for the historic need in our province, Harvest Manitoba, and all of its member agencies. So far, up to 7:28 a.m. here, $16,881 has been raised. If you have anything to give, 9823581 or cbc.ca/BeKindMB. Let's take a quick moment to look at morning sports. This is sad news. The Jets last night, disappointing against the Oilers, Scott Regier.
I just want to listen to more of that music rather than talking about the Jets right now. That was beautiful. But yeah, you're right. Outside of Connor Hellebuck, a pretty lackluster evening, to say the least. They fell 3-1 to the Jets to the Oilers. The perennial Vezina candidate, Marcy, led in a bad goal to Darnell Nurse that allowed Edmonton to tie the game, but was otherwise fantastic. For the rest of the team, though, rough. They were outshot heavily. They weren't great in the face-off circle either. One particularly frustrating moment happened in the second period. Marcy, defender Josh Morrissey was taking on Connor McDavid when he ran into another Oiler, Matthias Janmark. At least that's how the referees viewed it. Morrissey had a different opinion.
It's interference. I don't know how that's not a penalty. Guys run into each other sometimes out there for sure, but, Connor had the puck for a number of seconds by then, and I was playing against him, and I was told that we just ran into each other. So obviously you can tell that's where a little bit of my frustration comes from, that, hey, a game happens fast, but I didn't see it that way, and that's my view.
So Winnipeg now on a season high, or is it low? A 3-game losing streak, Marcy. Chance to break that streak tomorrow, though, at home against Chicago, who are near the bottom of not just the Western Conference, but the entire NHL standings.
And just before you go, it should be quite a night tonight in Victoria, BC.
Yeah, Christine Sinclair plays her second last game for Canada in a friendly match in Victoria against Australia. Tickets for this game sold out in 8 minutes. And if you get a chance on our website, CBC is going to interview that shows Ryan Reynolds, the actor, feting Sinclair on her career, but also looking like he's making an offer for her to come and play for his team, Wrexham FC in the Welsh League. So check that out if you get a chance. It's worth a great laugh, if nothing more.
All right. Thanks very much, Scott.
You bet.
Scott Regerin, Morning Sports. Still ahead on Make the Season Kind, our day in support of Harvest Manitoba. More music from Aaron Propp and Larry Roy. They're going to do a classic. They've got Song for a Winter's Night after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it is still -3 in Winnipeg, December 1st, and we are mild. Sunshine today, a high of -2. It has been 1 year since Winnipeg police announced 3 additional murder allegations against the same man. Jeremy Skibicki was charged with first-degree murder in the deaths of Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, and a third victim known only as Buffalo Woman. Since then, families of Harris and Myron have been pushing for a search of the landfill for their remains, a landfill north of Winnipeg. Harris's cousin Melissa Robinson says the family is feeling renewed optimism a search will be conducted, but she says the past year has been difficult.
We're still pretty much at step 1, right? Like, we still don't have Morgan. And, that's been our end goal all along is, to retrieve her, bring her home, lay her to rest properly.
Skibicki is also charged with first-degree murder in the death of Rebecca Contois. He has pleaded not guilty to all 4 counts. His trial is scheduled to start at the end of April. The fighting between Israel and Hamas is flaring up again. Efforts to extend the temporary ceasefire have failed. Explosions and gunfire are being reported in Gaza, and air raid sirens warn of incoming rockets in southern Israel. You can hear the latest from the Middle East, as well as more national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. It is tough to make ends meet when you're living on social assistance, but it's even harder when you have health conditions that require a special diet. CBC's Emily Brass with more now on a Selkirk family struggling to afford the healthy foods they need.
Corns, peaches.
Sharon McCorster goes to a food bank to stretch her grocery budget.
I got to start a week ahead of time thinking of my routes and how much I have to spend.
McCorster feeds her family of 5 on not much more than her old age pension. She's raising 3 kids who all have special dietary needs, and her husband's food choices are limited because of diabetes.
He'll have his fruits and vegetables, and even if it does have sugar, he'll take a chance, or he'll just take half of it or something, just to save money.
U of M nutritionist Natalie Riediger says managing chronic illnesses on a fixed income is a struggle.
Impossible. You don't have any control when you go to a food bank, right? People are a victim to whatever is available.
Harvest Manitoba says it occasionally offers things like whole grain pasta and bread, but only when they're donated. When it purchases in bulk, it buys more processed foods to make its dollars stretch. Emily Brass, CBC News, Selkirk.
And CBC Manitoba presents Make the Season Kind throughout all the day today, a day of programming in support of Harvest Manitoba. Winnipeg police are asking for your help finding a missing 82-year-old man. John Friesen was last seen around 1 yesterday afternoon in the area of Ballantrae Drive and Newmarket Boulevard in Fort Garry. He's 6 feet tall, medium build with white hair and brown eyes. Police say Friesen was last seen driving a white 2010 Chevrolet Malibu with Manitoba plate WJ CJ2922. We have his photo and a photo of that model of that car up on our website. If you've seen him or that car, or if you know anything about where John Friesen might be, contact police. True North Real Estate and the Southern Chiefs Organization are working more closely together on their downtown Winnipeg redevelopment projects. True North is looking at buying Portage Place and transforming it into a downtown community campus. The Southern Chiefs are turning the former Bay building into a mixed-use project. Jim Ludlow, president of True North Real Estate, says the two organizations have developed an evolving relationship.
I think both projects are catalysts for the other. You know, as we've spent more time since May, analyzing and looking at Portage Place, I think the more we look at it, the more we see that these projects both have to proceed essentially in lockstep.
True North has asked for more time to consider its proposed purchase of Portage Place Mall. A ghost from Christmases past will soon be appearing on a Winnipeg fire hall. A simple sign with red lights spelling out the word humbug will be installed at fire station number 11 on Portage Avenue next to a replica of one that first made a debut in 1973. It had been strung across a high-rise balcony overlooking Route 90 in the Polo Park area. Building renovations meant it could not go up this year. First on the board did not translate into a win for the Winnipeg Jets. Cole Perfetti in the first period on TSN as the Jets lose to the Edmonton Oilers 3-1. All the Oilers' goals came in the third period. Head coach Rick Bowness says his team got killed in the face-off circle. Edmonton winning 71% of the face-offs last night. This is the Jets' third loss in a row.
That's 3 games where we've lost. We just need that extra goal, and we didn't get it. Simple as that.
Winnipeg will try to break out of its losing slump tomorrow afternoon against Chicago. You can find more news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thanks, Heather Wells. We're going to join Marcy back in Studio 11 in just a moment. But first, a quick look at weather and traffic. It is -3 in the city of Winnipeg. It is cloudy. There is some lightening skies and brightening skies in the southwest corner of the province as the clouds continue to move east here. So we should see a mainly sunny day here in the Peg with a -2 high. Not much wind either. A calm day expected. Tonight down to -10. And tomorrow a -2 will be windy in the afternoon. Southeast 20 to 40. Sunday a -1. And next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, get this, folks, 0 on Monday, 0 Tuesday, a 3 on Wednesday, a 4 on Thursday. Taking a quick look at other temps here. Brandon, you're at -7 right now. You're down 2 in the past hour, on the way to a -2. A partly cloudy day expected, but it is brightening up in that Brandon area as far as the cloud cover goes. Tonight down to a -12, and tomorrow mainly cloudy and a high of 0 with some wind gusts to 40 as well. Thompson is -23 at this hour. Sunny, clear, and cold today for the most part with a daytime high of -13. Tonight, -18, and tomorrow, a high of -10 for Thompson. We're looking at 0s and -2s and some -3s. A pretty warm day across central and southern Manitoba. We're hovering around mainly -3s and 4s and 5s in southern Manitoba this morning. Once again, the city of Winnipeg, it is -3. In traffic, no reports of stalls, crashes, or major incidents. Do give me a call at 788-3093 if there's anything to report, though. I would appreciate it. I'm standing by. Now we'll go back to Marcy over in our performance studio, Studio 11.
And performance, what a performance we have to look forward to. If you were with us just before the 7:30 news, Aaron Propp and Larry Roy are here performing live at CBC this morning. A Juno-nominated jazz duo from Winnipeg, as I mentioned, won a Western Canadian Music Award. And Larry also is a music professor and sound engineer. Their latest album is called We Want the Same Things. You might know this. It earned them a WCMA nomination for Jazz Artist of the Year. Frankly, I couldn't believe, Aaron, that you guys weren't. I was down in the other studio and that performance went on before 7:30. How does your voice sound like it sounded like, oh, they must have not shown up, I thought. You sound amazing live.
Oh, thank you.
Just incredible. Congratulations on all of your success. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us, Marcy.
How important is it we're communities coming together today to support each other for Make the Season Kind and Harvest Manitoba? I always think it's interesting when I talk to musicians on this show because support for all of us is important as a community. What does it feel like for you to be here and helping out in this way with your voice?
Oh, I love it. It's a great honor. I've been listening to your stories, and as I drove in here this morning too, and it's just a reminder of how needed these centers are in our province and throughout Canada, and the people are in need, and we need to keep giving generously.
This time of year is a time where a lot of people have memories as well. Larry, you were thinking back to a time where you were at one of the Tom Jackson fundraisers for food and community and helping out.
We did that for years, actually. We did that 5, 6, 7. The pandemic basically shut that down for a little bit, but Tom would organize a supper at the Fort Garry for maybe 200 people, families that were not in a position to have a Christmas Eve supper, and they'd get gifts donated, so the place would be jammed with kids who would stuff their faces and then get toys, and they're screaming, and Al Simmons would come and ride in on his moose cycle, and Aaron, I think, performed with us once or twice there, and we would provide music for that, and it was a wonderful thing.
What stays with you about, that memory is very much connected to today. So Harvest, of course, raising money to make sure that the kids this year all over Manitoba can have that moment, and they won't have to worry about having empty bellies.
Well, for me, doing that stuff with Tom and being able to contribute somehow to the community, that was my favorite. That was the favorite thing, the best thing I could do at Christmas time was to contribute somehow, and I would tell people, if you have a chance, go do something for the community at this time, because it's so appreciated.
Yeah, and this morning you're doing exactly that with your voices. What are you going to sing? What do we get next?
We're going to play together for you a song for Winter's Night by one of our favorite Canadian songwriters, Gordon Lightfoot.
Can't wait to hear this version. So Aaron Propp and Larry Roy, we are live in our performance studio at CBC 11, and here they are with Song for a Winter's Night.
Is burning low upon my tabletop, and the snow is softly falling. The air is still in the silence of my room, and I hear your voice softly calling. If I could only have you near to breathe a sigh or two, I would be happy just to hold the hands I love on this winter's night with you. The smoke is rising in the shadows overhead. My glass is almost empty. I read again between the lines upon each page, and the words of love you sent me. If I could know within my heart that you were lonely too, I would be happy just to hold the hands I love on this winter's night with you. The fire is dying now, my lamp is growing dim. The shades of night are lifting. Ooh, the morning light, it steals across my window pane, where webs of snow are drifting. If I could only have you near to breathe a sigh or two, I would be happy just to hold the hands I love on this winter's night with you. Oh, and to be once again with you.
I promised I wouldn't cry this year, but wow, thank you guys for being here.
Very welcome.
I'm giving big hugs people can't see, they can on YouTube, but on the radio. Thank you very much for being part of our broadcast. Really appreciate you. Quick plug for where people can see you, what you got coming up next, anything you want to say about the new album that's out, the new work. Yeah, Erin?
Well, Larry's got a show with the Ministers of Cool at the Fort Garry Hotel in the Club Room on December 17th. So you can check out Jazz Winnipeg's website for that. That's featuring Zachary Rushing doing songs from Al Jarreau. And I'm on that show. I am singing backup with Carly Epp. It's a super fun night. There's some tickets left. And then otherwise, you'll have to check back with us in the new year for when we're playing again, because I'm away in January. He's away in February, but we'll have more music in the spring.
Well, we will certainly do that. Their latest album, Aaron Propp and Larry Roy, we want all the same things, earning them this year a WCMA nomination. Of course, they're a Juno-nominated jazz duo from right here in Winnipeg. We're getting together with all Winnipeggers, all Manitobans today to try and make the season kind this morning. Every dollar counts. Every time you donate $1 to Harvest, they can make that go tenfold in terms of supporting the need and the resources. And there's so much need. There was a 150% increase in food bank usage for Harvest Manitoba since 2019. There's a 30% year-over-year increase. And remember, Harvest supports some 389 food banks and agencies all across Manitoba. It is right now on CBC 7:47 a.m. and up next on Make the Season Kind. Something that's very special. We don't always get the opportunity to understand how deeply a person's life can be changed when they find some help and they can access food. But today we have a special opportunity for an update on a story that CBC Manitoba has been privileged to be following for 10 years. It's about Rena Hermkins and her late husband, Drew, who spent much of their life living under city bridges, where they were hungry, homeless, and surrounded by people who fed their drug addictions. Drew told me he was responsible for caring for his siblings from the age of 6 and doesn't remember much of a childhood. Rena, too, was abused at a young age and met Drew on the street where he squeegeed for money. They fell in love. They pitched a tent outside Harvest, Manitoba, and they thought, maybe we'll make a new start here. Here's part of what they shared with CBC in 2013.
There was a lot of depression in that from being not having a secure foundation or anybody out there to help us out. Until we met some people from Winnipeg Harvest, and they really helped us. They helped us with a place to shower, lunch every day.
Did you pick the location hoping maybe that there would be some help, or did you guys know where you pitched your tent?
We pitched our tent where we thought our tent wouldn't be robbed while we were out squeegeeing.
We knew that we could try and look for a place, but it was the same rooming house, bed bugs, crack infested. So we wanted to just be on our own, so we pitched the tent back there.
How did you feel differently about yourself after you were showering and eating?
We started realizing that we didn't just want another rooming house. We didn't just want to go from addiction to addiction. We wanted actually a home. When you're on crack cocaine, it destroys your teeth from the inside out. It just almost eats your teeth away. And my teeth were falling apart, just like shattering. And I've had about 10, 15 dentist appointments. Worked on almost every tooth, and I feel good because I see that smile that I never seen since I was 6 years old. And it's amazing. People that, get up and get out of bed take for granted having a good, grounded, easy, simple life.
Do you ever let the feeling overwhelm you that you haven't had that a lot up to this point?
Yeah, that's why I'm so protective of it. Now I'm starting to accept it and say, okay, I do deserve this. I do deserve a quiet life. I do deserve to have a Christmas instead of living that lifestyle.
So as I mentioned, that was Rena and Drew's story in 2013, 10 years ago. Now, the couple did move on from that tent. They got married. They moved into a rental house that I visited them at. They got a dog. They reconnected with family. Drew sadly died of a heart attack at 51 years old. His memorial was held where they pitched that tent outside Harvest. Rena said at the time that she was proud that he died with dignity and was drug-free. And she's in studio with us today. Good morning, Rena.
Good morning, Marcy.
I want to start with something celebratory.
Sure.
So you're about to celebrate a really special anniversary that you told me about in January. What is that?
My 10-year anniversary with sobriety.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I wasn't even aware. My girlfriend in sobriety, she's been counting for me, and she let me know, and I was like, wow, you know, if you just keep your faith and keep going forward, it's amazing.
How was your addiction affected when you were on the street and hungry? What were the feelings and cravings and things like?
Well, when you're not fed right, you're malnourished, and you're not. When you don't eat properly, your thought process is really screwed up. Add drugs to it. It was just like, you know, it was just like the nasty became the norm.
Did the craving, did it change, like the feeling of craving change for you once you were eating?
Yeah, like when me and Drew were in the tent, David Northcott, the old CEO, invited us in every morning for lunch. Well, that was morning to us, right?
Yeah.
He said, come in for a warm lunch, start your day like that. We'd get up and say, oh, I wonder what they're serving today.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for a coffee. And instead of, oh, let's go make some money and get high.
I remember you one time telling me that you would mistake sort of the feeling of craving for a drug would, once you were fed, it kind of changed. Like physically you felt different.
Yeah, we were mistaking the hunger feeling for using feeling.
You still do some volunteering with Harvest, Rena.
Yes.
I know part of it is doing these speaking engagements with students and university students as well. What university students do you talk to?
I talk to the University of Manitoba medical students that are going to become doctors.
Yeah, and what do you get across to them when you talk to them?
When they started, there was part of their curriculum. They have to do Harvest, volunteer for the day, and then listen to the stories at the end of the day. Well, they started that, I think, about 7 years ago, and me and Drew were one of the first two people. And I've been doing it ever since. And I went to Gimli one time. My girlfriend was volunteering at the Gimli Hospital, and there was a doctor that remembered me speaking.
Yeah.
So it's a small world. It's amazing.
Well, you're leaving a big impact because you're sharing.
Yeah.
Part of what you share is about your finances, about the connection between, hunger and health, and also the reality of choices that people have to make when they live below the poverty line in Manitoba, as so many people do in 2023. Yeah. How tough has budgeting been for you?
It still is. I haven't learned any new tricks or anything. It's just, oh my goodness, it's so hard. Like, when I get the flyers, I try and talk to my brother-in-law. He helps me go shopping. I'll say, can we go to Freshco for this and No Frills for that and Walmart for this? Like, you gotta save everywhere you can.
And you make choices for your fur kids. You've got
yes. I got two daughters, a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old Great Pyrenees.
Big dogs.
Yeah, and they're very funny.
And so you actually have forego to make sure you can feed them and so make supplies from them. You've had to, you're walking places, like your transportation budget. That's a choice you've had to make.
Yeah, like if I get an appointment and the assistance gives me money for bus fare, I'll walk there so that I can, put that money into my food. My pet food allowance. Plus I go without too, and Harvest does give out pet food, so everything helps.
What are some of the toughest things to afford, Rena? Right
meat. Now? I used to buy beef, real beef wieners. Now I buy chicken wieners, and it's really gross, but I mean, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I know that we've been talking about the high cost of rent throughout the morning. A lot of Manitobans impacted to try to make the bottom line on that. How are you managing with rent?
Well, when we first moved in there, it was just me and Drew.
Your house, yeah.
Our rent was low enough, but the rent kept going up, and now I have to have a roommate. but I found a good one, so I'm happy about that.
You also have had you've had some moments of sorrow in your life.
Yes.
How difficult was it for you not to fall back into your addiction? Like, what's gotten you through?
Well, my first sorrow was with Drew, and I was closer to my addiction back then, so it was normal to isolate and start, thinking about reaching out to my user friends. But David Northcott didn't want that to happen.
So he helped you through that?
Yeah, he came and got me and my dog, and we sat at Harvest, even though we didn't want to be there.
Yeah. And now your new dog's helping and Faith.
Yeah, and my recently I lost my son. It was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
He tried meth for the second time, and it was fentanyl, and it killed him. And I was able to share that with the Garden City High School kids, and this young man came out. Talked to me after I spoke and said that he's glad he heard me because he was thinking about trying it, and that made him open his eyes.
What did it
was
make you
real.
feel like that you
I felt like
saved
my
his life?
son's life was, giving back.
What would you say to this morning? Why would you encourage someone to consider supporting Harvest Manitoba Arena, given your long history with this organization and how they've helped you as well?
You just don't know. It's not only the food; it's the helping hand. It's like when you go there, you're nervous. You don't want to be there. You don't want to get food. But the people there, you start talking about something like, I don't know, and they'll say a remark like, "Oh, you need a dentist? Yeah, there's a dentist list, or if you need to find a place, there's
So those conversations while you're there.
Yeah, and they're real people. They're not they're not just like there to just in and out. It's not like that there.
I'm so glad that you were able to be up and be with us on the show this morning. Congratulations on your 10 years of sobriety coming up in January. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
Always. Rena Hermkins is a Harvest volunteer, continues to do talks in Winnipeg. She's also herself a food bank client and a community advocate for raising awareness about addiction. It is 3 minutes now to 8 o'clock. You're on Make the Season Kind on CBC Manitoba. If you have something that you can give, every dollar counts. 9823581 or cbc.ca/bekindmb. I want to thank Aaron Propp and Larry Roy for performing this hour on Make the Season Kind. Coming up with live performances after 8 o'clock, Donna Mero is going to be in our music studio as our broadcast continues. Right now, though, on your Friday morning, let's plug into those news headlines with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, a new report by Harvest Manitoba suggests almost half of the province's food bank users are dealing with disabilities and health use issues, and nearly 3/4 can't afford healthy food. We're going to hear from a woman who lives in Selkirk and uses the food bank there and has a household of people who have different food needs. We'll hear that story coming up. True North Real Estate and the Southern Chiefs Organization are working more closely together on their downtown Winnipeg redevelopment projects. True North looking at buying Portage Place Mall and transforming it into a downtown community campus, and the Southern Chiefs turning the former Bay Building into a mixed-use project. We'll hear from True North in our next local news at 8:30.
The Son of Mary.
So just as soon as I was bidding farewell to Aaron Propp and Larry Roy, here they are live to sing us to the top of the clock in World Report. And then still ahead on Make the Season Kind. Harvest Manitoba says nearly 3/4 of food bank users can't afford healthy food, and it's especially hard for people dealing with chronic health conditions like diabetes. CBC reporter Emily Brass joins us after 8 to talk about that worrying trend. And Donna Merrill will be performing live. But right now, let's continue to enjoy Aaron Propp and Larry Roy on CBC. Make the season kind.
For me, for you, and hail, hail the Word made flesh, the babe, the Son of Mary.
on Q with Tom Power.
Mariah Carey is referred to as the Queen of Christmas, and Matt Rogers has spent the last few years trying to be crowned the Prince of Christmas. Matt will tell you about his new Christmas album, Meeting Mariah Carey, and how it felt when his best friend got Saturday Night Live and he didn't.
I definitely went through a depression.
That's coming up on Q, followed by Commotion with Elamine Abdel Mahmoud on CBC Radio 1, the CBC Listen app, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
Newfoundland has its own deep culture of traditional skills and crafts. Some of that knowledge is being lost over time, though, but a project is working to preserve it and is seeing success and winning awards. Crafts at Risk, coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning from CBC News. I'm John Northcott. The Public Safety Minister says Canada's intelligence agency is now investigating after 4 officers from its Physical Surveillance Unit in British Columbia went public with allegations that a senior colleague assigned to be a coach was harassing and raping female recruits. Janice McGregor reports.
These reports are absolutely devastating.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau reacting to reporting by the Canadian press that laid out a history of complaints from 4 whistleblowers who said the Canadian Security and Intelligence Service is a toxic workplace.
Absolutely unacceptable. We need to make sure that everyone in every workplace, no matter how delicate or sensitive or secret the work they're doing, is protected, particularly for people who serve their country.
Their allegations are specific and include claims a rookie officer was raped by a senior officer while alone together in a CSIS vehicle during covert surveillance missions. An attempt to speak up internally about being groped by a drunken superior at a work party also failed when an investigator concluded that it didn't actually happen in the workplace. Vulnerable recruits still on probation can't go outside CSIS to report assaults to police because that risks exposing secret operations. It's illegal to name other covert officers under the CSIS Act. On social media last night, Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc called the reports deeply troubling. He said he'd spoken to CSIS Director David Vigneault, who assured him a robust internal investigation is ongoing. Janice McGregor, CBC News, Ottawa.
The temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is over. A red alert blares from sirens in southern Israel warning of incoming rockets. Hamas says it is Israel's fault the pause was not extended. It says Israel rejected its offer to release more hostages. But Israeli Defense Forces say Hamas broke the ceasefire agreement by firing rockets at Israeli sites. Major Doran Spielman speaks for the IDF.
There have been multiple rockets. They've been intercepted, which shows that Hamas has moved back into an attacking position. Amongst the Israeli people, we intercepted those rockets, thankfully, and we've resumed our combat missions against Hamas in the Gaza Strip.
And so, Israeli airstrikes are bombarding Gaza again. Medics treat the wounded in a hospital. The Hamas-run health authority says more than 100 people have been killed since fighting resumed. Israel is telling people near Khan Yunis to move to what it calls safe areas. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights is calling on both sides to re-establish the ceasefire. The COP28 climate summit in Dubai is beginning with a call to action. Here's King Charles speaking this morning in his opening address.
Our grandchildren won't be asking what we said. They will be living with the consequences of what we did or didn't do.
And action, it seems, is on its way, or at least some money is. Wealthy countries are pledging to pay for damage from climate-driven disasters in developing countries. Kyle Bax has the latest.
6 Indigenous women stand together, each raising a fist in the air as their music, song and prayer mark the opening of the Canadian Pavilion at COP28. Shortly after, an announcement from the federal government to support a new global climate damage fund to help developing countries cope with floods, droughts and rising sea levels. Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault.
Canada's been arguing for now more than a year that we should have a serious conversation about loss and damage after ignoring it for almost 30 years.
Ottawa is making an initial $16 million pledge, much less than the $100 million committed by Germany and some other nations, but nearly identical to the amount pledged by the United States.
This is a significant step forward. I think it will also help create goodwill and trust building in these negotiations, which is what they run on.
And welcome to the opening ceremony.
World leaders from around the globe are taking the stage today and tomorrow. They are urged to take action to limit global warming. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
Earth's vital signs are failing. Record emissions, ferocious fires, deadly droughts, and the hottest year ever.
But it's not too late, he says, to act on climate change. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Dubai.
With Myanmar's government losing significant ground against rebels across the country, it appears to be tightening its grip on critics living abroad. In Singapore, several Myanmar citizens have had their passports invalidated without any explanation. Freelance reporter Patrick Falk has that story.
Peninsula Plaza is a popular hangout for people from Myanmar in Singapore. It's where May Kyo So Nyut runs a small provision store. She uses some of her profit to support Myanmar's anti-junta resistance. She planned to fly to Thailand in August, but discovered at the airport that her passport had been cancelled.
I cannot go in through because of my passport is invalid.
May is one of around 300,000 Myanmar nationals living in Singapore, with many voicing strong opposition to the 2021 military coup. The 51-year-old has lived in Singapore for around 16 years and has permanent residency in the city-state. But without any passport, she is unable to travel elsewhere. There are reports other people from Myanmar have also had their passports revoked with no warning. Such moves have typically been reserved for high-profile opposition leaders in the past, but the junta has stepped up action against activists living overseas. Bryony Lau is Deputy Director of Asia for Human Rights Watch and says it's not the only tactic the regime is using against its opponents abroad.
Pro-military segments of Myanmar society that are active on Telegram, for example, actively try to identify people who support the resistance and dox them by sharing their personal information online.
It doesn't appear to be helping the regime. Since launching an offensive about a month ago, resistance forces in Myanmar have seized more than 100 military posts across the country. Patrick Falk for CBC News, Singapore.
Russian dissident Alexei Navalny says he's just been informed he's facing new criminal charges. Navalny, a longtime critic of the Kremlin and President Vladimir Putin, he's already serving time in a penal colony. He's been sentenced to more than 30 years on multiple charges, including extremism, which he denies. And now Navalny says he's been charged with vandalism. Republican Congressman George Santos could be expelled from the U.S. House of Representatives today. He's been engulfed in controversy since his election in 2022, also facing multiple federal felony charges. The CBC's Richard Madden is in Washington. Richard, Santos has survived 2 previous votes to expel him. Why would today's outcome be any different?
Yeah, I think it's because he's become so politically toxic. Many of his own Republicans have turned on him. And the final straw appears to be that scathing ethics investigation, a bipartisan one at that found evidence he stole from his campaign donors to pay for things like Botox, designer clothes, and adult website OnlyFans. Now, don't forget, he's already facing separate criminal indictments, including wire fraud, money laundering, and theft. And he was also exposed for lying about parts of his resume, his finances, and his background. But Santos argues he hasn't been convicted of any crime, at least not yet, so he's now portraying himself a victim and his colleagues bullies.
This is what it looks like to me. It is a predetermined necessity for some members in this body to engage in this smear campaign to destroy me. I will not stand by quietly.
And he sure won't. Santos believes his ouster is inevitable, but he refuses to resign and avoid what's shaping up to be a humiliating vote to get rid of him.
Now, Richard, a vote to expel a member is a very rare move, is it not?
It sure is. Only 5 members of Congress have been expelled in U.S. history, and 3 of them booted for supporting the Confederacy during the Civil War, basically treason. So Santos could be the 6th, but Keep in mind, an expulsion vote requires a 2/3 majority in the House. That means every Democrat and at least 70 Republicans would need to vote yes. And for now, that appears to be the way it's going.
The CBC's Richard Madden in Washington. Thanks, Richard.
You're welcome.
And finally, TikTok is celebrating a major legal victory in the United States. A federal judge has blocked the state of Montana's ban on the video sharing app. It was due to take effect on January 1st. TikTok has a Chinese-owned parent company, and the app has been flagged for its potential to aid Chinese spying. Montana says it was trying to protect the privacy of its residents, but a U.S. district judge ruled banning TikTok violates freedom of speech. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Well, welcome to December, Manitoba, December 1st. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to CBC Radio 89.3 FM as we make the season kind in support of Harvest Manitoba. Thanks for joining us on a special day. All day long here at CBC Manitoba, we will have live music from performers who are joining us here. Donna Merrow is in our performance studio to play a few songs for us this half hour, as we hope you think about having a moment to give whatever you can to help out those in need. There's so much need. Nearly half of Manitobans accessing food banks are living with a disability or a health condition, according to new data from Harvest Manitoba. This half hour, CBC reporter Emily Brass on Make the Season Kind has been poring over their new report, and she's in studio to join us with more of the details. Stay with us. 8:11 is the time right now, and just on this morning, I always am mindful of my own life and what it's been like in Manitoba and my own privilege. And if you watch me on television, then you know. If you're watching on YouTube, then you know. You see me in the morning. I got my thermos full of coffee, no problem ever having that. I have food beside me, freely all the time. I'll eat oranges while Heather's doing her newscast. People in our province don't all have that privilege to just have food. And everything starts with food. Everyone's better physical wellness, mental wellness, everything starts with food. And as you've been hearing some of the stats this morning, in this new report that we'll hear more about from Emily in a moment, the numbers are record-breaking and they are historic. And some of the facts around it also look at how many people have work and they still cannot make ends meet. So that's one of the biggest changes. Harvest Manitoba saw a 150% increase in food bank usage since 2019. And of course, remember, they work with 389 food banks and agencies across the province. So we'll have more on that. I want to throw out the number before we go to Heather for headlines, 9823581, if you have something to donate. Heather is here to update our news. Hi there.
Hi. Well, it has been 1 year since Winnipeg police announced 3 additional murder allegations against the same man. Jeremy Skibicki was charged with first-degree murder in the deaths of Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, and a third victim known as Buffalo Woman. He had already been charged with the murder of Rebecca Contois. Since then, in the year that has passed, families of Harris and Myron have been pushing for a search of a landfill for their remains. We'll hear more coming up. And Winnipeg police are asking for your help finding a missing 82-year-old man. John Friesen was last seen around 1 yesterday afternoon in the area of Ballantrae Drive and Newmarket Boulevard in Fort Garry. We have his photo as well as a photo of the model of car he was last seen driving on our website. Just head to cbc.ca/Manitoba. Your next local news at 8:30.
All right, thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Well, Heather's updated the news. Why doesn't Pat Kanuga update the total that we've raised so far for Harvest Manitoba for Make the Season Kind today? Pat, where are we at 13 minutes after?
We are at $25,483 at 8:13 in the morning. Of course, that is being matched by Dave and Elena Forgan, former Winnipeggers who have been donating and supporting Harvest Manitoba for a long, long time. So thank you for that. So once again, $25,483, and
they're matching up to $100,000. So we really want to mention that because everything you give is going to be doubled. Harvest also says, remember, every dollar is actually $10 for what they can do. do to help people. So really important.
And if you want to donate, 982-3581 is the number. 982-3581, area code 204. And on the website, cbc.ca/BeKindMB.
So if you're on the bus, you can just get on the website, click, you can make a donation if you have something.
It's just that easy.
Yep.
Taking a look at weather, what we see is what we get. It's -3 right now, going to hover around that temperature, -2 this afternoon. Sunshine, it's cloudy right now, but the sun's going to be, we're going to be seeing that in the next couple of hours. There's a lot of cloud cover that's just moving east, and the southwest corner is pretty clear right now. But sunny, clear, -2 today, -10 tonight, tomorrow -2. Warm for the next week. Sunday, -1. Zeros for Monday, Tuesday, a 3 on Wednesday, a 4 on Thursday. Once again, we are at -3. In traffic, we're not hearing of anything major going on. Just we have a stalled car at westbound Chief Peguis and Henderson in the left turn lane to go south on Henderson. So that is happening there. That traffic line is 788-3093.
Hi, I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. You're listening to Make the Season Kind on CBC Radio 1. All day, CBC Manitoba's programming is in support of Harvest Manitoba. To donate, call 1-204-982-3581. That's 1-204-982-3581. Or head to cbc.ca/BeKindMB. Thanks for listening and happy holidays.
Well, anyone who's been to the supermarket lately knows how much food costs have soared. But for people with health conditions, as we mentioned, that require a special diet, the grocery bills are even higher. It's a special challenge for people who rely on food banks to get by. The new report by Harvest Manitoba suggests that nearly half of Manitobans accessing food banks are living with a disability or health condition. And CBC reporter Emily Brass is in studio to walk us through this. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So I know you recently visited a family in Selkirk who's dealing with food insecurity and health conditions on a fixed income. Tell us about them.
Well, Sharon McCorrister is raising 2 young kids and a teenager along with her husband. All of them have health conditions that affect their diet. She has high blood pressure. Her husband has diabetes, which is now keeping him from being able to work. And that means the family's living on not much more than McCorrister's old age pension. So affording the kind of healthy food they need is a struggle when grocery prices have shot up so much in the past year. McCorrister says all of this affects the way she shops and the way she cooks, especially since her 3 children have their own dietary needs.
I got to prepare 3 meals. Not once a day, 3 times a day. Like everybody has something different. So at supper time, I got to cook 3 different things. Lunchtime, 3 different things. And one of the boys has lots of allergies, so I need certain things for him. And then the third boy is borderline autistic, so he won't eat certain foods. Lately, he started eating apples. I was really surprised because I noticed my apples were chipped away and he's cutting pieces off of them. He just likes a little part, and it has to be a red apple. Can't be any other color. He likes yogurt, but he'll only eat vanilla yogurt. He won't eat anything flavored because it has the chunks in it, and that's different texture. And one boy is allergic to chicken broth, sesame seeds, eggs. So I have to look for foods that have no eggs in them and no chicken broth. If I buy noodles, it can't be with chicken broth. I have to buy the beef noodles.
That's a lot of different needs. Meeting all those needs in a tight budget, as you mentioned, must be tough. How does she do it?
Well, McCorrister says she spends up to $700 a month on groceries, and she takes time to look for sales and always checks the clearance racks for produce. In fact, she says that's pretty much the only way they get fresh fruits and vegetables. For other staples like flour, pasta, canned goods, McCorrister relies on the Selkirk Food Bank, but it's recently gone down from giving out hampers every week to every 2 weeks. I asked her how much planning this all takes.
I got to start a week ahead of time thinking of my routes and what I'm going to get and how much I have to spend. The price of bread, oh my God, is jackknifed in the last year. It's pretty much doubled for a loaf of bread.
And then you said too that you have to buy a certain kind of bread also for your husband.
Yeah, he eats the bread with no sugar in it.
Mm-hmm. And so what's the price difference on that?
It's $2 more than the regular $3. So it'll be $5 a loaf. If I hadn't learned how to cook from my mom, I probably wouldn't survive today on what the prices are.
So McCorster also does a lot of her own baking and makes things like pierogies, cabbage rolls, bannock, and soup. And with Christmas coming up, she says the focus will be on activities like cooking and playing games, with each of the kids just getting a few small presents. They also plan to have some big family potlucks with their other relatives.
Now, you touched on the higher prices of food for people with special dietary needs, including McCorster's husband, who has diabetes, she shared. How do they manage that?
Well, she says they do their best, to get him the foods recommended for people with diabetes, like fruits and vegetables, but quite often those are coming from a can that they get at the food bank. And she says even if the food has a high sugar content, he'll often eat it anyway, maybe cutting his portion in half so they can save money. McCorster says they hardly ever eat any whole grains like whole wheat bread or pasta. Whole grains are a lot more expensive, sometimes as much as 3 times the price, but they're rich in fiber and can help people manage diabetes, whereas the cheaper white flour carbs can send blood sugar soaring. I asked a nutritionist from the University of Manitoba how hard it is to manage health conditions on social assistance. Natalie Riediger says it's a struggle.
Impossible. I think it would be almost impossible to meet those needs. I think it would, you don't have any control when you go to a food bank, right? There's no way to plan. And so people are a victim to whatever is available. Food insecurity can lead to, consuming foods that individuals know themselves are not supporting their disease management. And so there's a lot of stigma and shame for people who are in that situation, trying their best to manage it.
Riediger added that Manitoba has some of the highest rates of diabetes in Canada, with close to a third of residents living with diabetes or pre-diabetes. The province also faces one of the highest prevalences of food insecurity in the country, and many poorer neighborhoods are food deserts where healthier options are often not available, even at a food bank.
What does Harvest Manitoba say about this?
Well, it just put out its new annual report, Harvest Voices 2023, which surveyed more than 500 food bank users in Manitoba. And one of the most striking figures is that 43% of them, so nearly half, are living with a disability or health issue. And out of those clients, 77% say those health conditions affect their ability to work. Another shocking figure is that nearly 3/4 of people accessing food banks in Manitoba say they're no longer able to afford healthy food. Harvest says it sometimes offers things like whole grain pasta and bread, but only when those items are donated. When it purchases in bulk, it buys the white variety of carbs to make its dollars stretch. But it does say if you have a health condition that requires a special diet, let the food bank know, and it'll try to accommodate those needs as best as it can.
All right. Thanks very much, Emily.
Thank you.
That's Emily Brass, reporter with CBC Manitoba, as we make the season kind in support of Harvest Manitoba. Pat's in with a challenge from a listener and a donation total.
Starting to get the challengers coming in at 8:22 in the morning. Amanda LaRouge-Tell said, donation made. I challenge all retired instructors from Red River College, RRC Polytech, to donate today. Let's help feed hungry Manitobans. As far as the total, we are just over $25,000. We're going to get a new total any minute now, but $25,483 was from 15 minutes ago.
And we have 2 songs to end our show this morning. Let's get to the first one. I'm excited. Standing by in our live performance, Studio 11, here's Don Amaro live with Christmas Time.
It's that time of year's come to celebrate the Father's Son. It's Christmas time. We trim the trees, the stars so bright, warming hearts by firelight. It's Christmas time. With joy we take the time to celebrate. Live every moment, don't just wait. Merry Christmas, everyone. May your hearts be filled with love. And the excitement's everywhere. Keep the magic in the air. take the time to love. Spread Christmas cheer all through the year. May your wishes all come true, that no one take the joy from you. It's Christmas time. With a grateful heart, give what you can, and always lend a helping hand all the time. With joy we take the time to celebrate. Live every moment, don't just wait. Merry Christmas, everyone. May your hearts be filled with love. And the excitement's everywhere. Keep the magic in the air. Take the time to love. Don't let it up. Spread Christmas cheer all through the
Live from Studio 11, this is Donna Merrow on Make the Season Kind. Nice to see you.
Yeah, lovely to see you. Thanks.
It's 8:25, Don. I promised I would talk less this year because your gift is music and no one wants to listen to me. So why don't we chat a bit after your next song? What are you going to do for us?
Oh, yeah, I can do this one. It's so All I Need This Christmas, not to be mistaken with Mariah Carey's All I Want This Christmas.
Okay.
This is my version of that song in a way. It's just sort of says, you know, about being with all the ones you love and enjoying the time you have with them. So
love that.
That's the heart of this. Yeah.
Can't wait. Donna Merrow live on CBC as we make the season kind in support of Harvest Manitoba.
The snow is falling and memories call me back again. Christmas is coming, a New Year's just around the bend. Well, tonight I am thinking there's only one thing I am missing. All that I want this Christmas, all that I need this year, won't be wrapped in ribbons, won't be hidden beneath the tree. Baby, you're all I need. Remember when I was a child, restless nights on Christmas Eve. Couldn't wait to wake up, run downstairs and see my presents everywhere. Now those days are gone. Well, tonight I am restless, just waiting for you to come home. All that I want this Christmas, all that I need this year, won't be wrapped in ribbons, won't be hidden beneath the tree. Baby, you are all I need. You're all I need. Christmas is coming, and New Year's just around the bend.
Beautiful. Live music from Don Amaro on Harvest Manitoba. We're raising money for Harvest this morning. Make the season kind. Why is it important to you to do this kind of work in community? You're here with us today. We're grateful. But people that know you, Don, in community, you do a lot of this stuff, especially around this time of year. What is that? What do you think about at this time of year, and why do you want to give?
Yeah, I mean, this is especially important to me. So growing up, our family used Christmas hampers, and they would come to our house, and we relied heavily on that. Now, I was thinking about this on my drive in this morning, and just the perspective of a young guy, a young Don Amaro. It was exciting. Like I know that there's been a lot of talk about adults sort of feeling this shame of having to do this sometimes for their families, and that, I mean, it's just a reality we live in for a lot of folks. And I would just say, if you got a family with young kids, I mean, my perspective was this was an exciting day when sort of the greater community was caring for us. And I just love that, because I mean sometimes there'd be little gifts in there for us and stuff too, and it just enabled my parents to deliver a better Christmas for us in a way, and so that's why I like doing this, and I can be part of this in this way. So
what does it make you feel like when we put the stats out there? 150% increase in food bank usage since 2019, 30% year over year. People with jobs now, that's the biggest change. Still just not able to make it.
Yeah, one of the things that has really hit me this year, there's a heaviness to this year for some reason, not for just any reason, but there's a lot going on around the world and right here at home. But I think the disparity between those that have and those that have not has definitely grown, especially when you talk about inflation and the ability to actually just afford. I've seen it definitely in my home, even just with our kids, and the cost of living has just really affected us. And I mean, we live on a musician's income, right? So we try to make a way of it that way, and I'm very blessed to say we're able to make it work. But at the same time, I can't imagine what it would be like for anybody who does have a full-time job and can't. It's definitely heartbreaking to say the least.
Thanks for sharing your gifts with us this morning. Can you stick around and play us out after the news?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah.
Okay, Don Amaro, we're live in Studio 11. Make the season kind. Call if you can, 982-3581. We'll have a running total from the program coming up after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it is -3, a really lovely first morning of December 1st. Sunny and mild throughout the afternoon as well, a high of -2. The family of a woman police believe was murdered by an accused serial killer will honor her memory tonight. Morgan Harris's family will gather in North Kildonan outside the former home of the accused. It comes exactly 1 year after Winnipeg police announced Jeremy Skibicki had been charged with 3 additional counts of first-degree murder. He is accused of killing Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, Rebecca Contois, and a 4th victim known as Buffalo Woman. Harris's cousin, Melissa Robinson, says this is an important day to gather.
We don't want her to be remembered as the victim to a serial killer. We want her life to be remembered in a good way. So by us coming together and remembering her all together, I think it'll help give us strength to continue on.
Skibicki has pleaded not guilty to all 4 counts. His trial is scheduled to begin at the end of April. Good news from Winnipeg police this morning. An 82-year-old man reported missing in Fort Garry since yesterday afternoon has now been found safe. The city of Winnipeg is helping a local brew pub keep a Christmas tradition alive. One Great City Brewing Company made a replica of the iconoclastic Humbug sign. The original had been strung up from a high-rise balcony in the Polo Park area every holiday season since 1973. The brewery sign sat on their roof for a few days before it had to be taken down. Operations manager Tim Hudek explains.
It boils down to health and safety. And, if we were smarter and not working a brewery, we probably would have thought of that as well. But we were just trying to put up what we kind of thought of as a big decoration. But, when you're talking about it at that height and that size, it's a lot more than a big decoration.
Hudek says he is grateful the city agreed to give the Humbug sign a new home not far from its original location. It will be installed at Fire Station number 11 on Portage Avenue next week. True North Real Estate and the Southern Chiefs Organization are working more closely together on their downtown Winnipeg redevelopment projects. True North is looking at buying Portage Place and transforming the mall into a downtown community campus. The Southern Chiefs are turning the former Bay building into a mixed-use project. Jim Ludlow, president of True North Real Estate, says the two organizations have developed an evolving relationship.
I think both projects are catalysts for the other. as we've spent more time since May analyzing and looking at Portage Place, I think the more we look at it, the more we see that these projects both have to proceed essentially in lockstep.
True North has asked for more time to consider its proposed purchase of the Portage Place shopping centre. A new report by Harvest Manitoba suggests almost half of this province's food bank users are dealing with disabilities and health issues, and nearly 3/4 can't afford healthy food.
5 grams of sugar per serving.
It includes Selkirk Food Bank user Sharon McCorrister. You just heard her there. She spends a lot of time looking at food labels. She's feeding her family of 5 on not much more than her old age pension. Everyone in the household has special dietary needs because of allergies, autism, and diabetes.
At supper time, I got to cook 3 different things. Lunchtime, 3 different things. If I hadn't learned how to cook from my mom, I probably wouldn't survive today on what the prices are.
A University of Manitoba nutritionist says managing chronic illnesses like diabetes on a low income is almost impossible since healthy foods are more expensive and seldom donated at food banks. You can find more Manitoba news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you, Heather Wells. Well, on our Friday morning, December 1st here, we're about to wrap up Make the Season Kind. Dawn Amaro is going to play a little instrumental to play us out this morning. We're in our Performance Studio 11. But just as a final note for you, you have your own show coming up next week.
December 9th, yeah, at the Burton Cummings Theatre. Yeah.
You still call it
Amaro Little Christmas, yeah.
I don't know why I love that so much. I just love that so much. But you and I were talking a bit during the news. Why don't we leave it with this? These are really challenging times in the world and in our home here in Manitoba. But you like to think about hope.
Yeah, I think with what I do, offering as a musician, I've often thought just serve with hope, serve with light, and just offer that. And in the midst of the chaos of the world, it seems sometimes, just my heart is just never don't give up on the hope that there's still lots of good out there. So.
Well, every dollar that comes in feels hopeful this morning to me. So you can play us out. Thank you for being here, Dawn.
Thanks, Marcy.
You're listening to Make the Season Kind on CBC Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our morning crew here, of course, and all the special people. Big thanks to all of our colleagues that put the show together today. Instead of mentioning every name, I'm going to spend our remaining time letting you know where we're at for donation totals. You've been so generous, listeners. Pat?
$35,323 as of 8:36 this morning. Phone us at 204-982-3581 to make your donation.
Amazing. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. And remember that $1 equals pretty much $10 of leverage that Harvest can use it for food to help people as the historic need continues in community. Also want to mention that Make the Season Kind is not just a morning show here at CBC. Of course, we're broadcasting all day long with special live performances and more stories about what that need looks like in our home. So make sure you're tuned into Radio Noon. Madeline Rogers is going to be performing live with stories from food banks around the province. Also in Up to Speed, the Winnipeg Nurses Choir are going to be gathering. That'll be special. As well as Isla Barker and Son of Dave. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to CBC. Take care of each other. And if you have it to give, consider making the season kind with us today on our special day in support of Harvest Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Be healthy.
Approaching the land is risking our life, and we have been attacked in my village 6